Greetings, soldiers. Welcome to the August 2025 edition of Poets at War. First up, we'll have a general's report about... What is that?
Finally, we found you! This trench needs fortification! Colonel Bradley Stonewall taking command of this position.
What? Sir, I'm in the middle of a transmission. As I was saying, folks, General Joshua David Ling will be discussing a transition from weekly to monthly. Colonel, I found him. He's the lonely sergeant who we've been doing solos the broadcasts. Private Dmitry Dadanikov reporting. I calculate you've been alone for over 200 episodes. Yes, quite alone, which was perfectly fine. Listeners, the second segment is Creators and Crusaders. If you would like to schedule a time with the General, please contact him directly, and he will have a one-on-one conversation with you for the podcast. Oh my goodness, this trench is so dreary. Private Percival paintbrush here to brighten things up. I'll paint murals on all the walls. Please don't. Third segment is Brood Tales, featuring Joshua David Ling's Ghost Trucker. If you'd like to send in one of your Christian short-form narrative art pieces to be featured on Brood Tales, please do. JoshuaDavidLing@gmail.com.
What light through yonder bunker breaks? 'Tis Sergeant Ollie, alone no more. Lieutenant Mad Jack Melancholy at your service. Why didn't you call for reinforcements sooner, Sergeant?
I was managing perfectly well. Fourth segment, Burnt Marshwiggle about Kpop Demon Hunters, featuring Joshua David Ling, Alexander Robertson, and Brendan Sunshine. Kpop, this is why you need us. My algorithms can optimize demon hunting by 34%. Are there colors in K-pop? I only brought brown paint. And the main event is the Broodcast, featuring Joshua, Joel, Ian, Kerith, and Brendan. Join us for our monthly Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on the Brood's Discord channel.
Does this conclude your transmission already, Sergeant?
I suppose so. Good, we're here to help you now. I'll build the machines. I'll paint everyone.
All at explosions! And I shall speak in verse forevermore.
Right. Brilliant. Welcome to the trenches, everyone! I hope every episode doesn't begin like this.
What was that, Sergeant?
Nothing, sir. August offensive commencing. Now. Of course there's explosions now. This is another Poets at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first monthly General's Report on the first monthly Poets at War episode. It's true we've had some various different schedules in the past, and lately we've been on Fridays for quite some time, but we're actually going to be changing that up now. We're going to be changing that up because I need time to produce more Brood Tales. That's really what it comes down to. I need to produce my own stories, and so do the other people on this podcast, the people who are regularly trying to create stories. So we made the call, really I made the call, but we made the call to move to a monthly show. This new monthly show is going to have a whole lot more extras in it, a whole lot more segments, and it's going to need Sergeant Ollie kind of explaining things as we go. In addition, there's been some changes to the recording schedule, and we've opened it up to anyone and everyone who is part of the Brood Discord. If you're not part of the Brood Discord, just email me, joshuadavidling@gmail.com, and I'll get you signed in. I appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate all of you working hard on your art, and we want to highlight that. So this what do you want to call it, season, not really a season, but this period of Poets at War, I want to be marked by a big shift. We are focusing on creators creating things, Christian creators creating things, and documenting that as we go along in my journey, in the journeys of others, and even in the journeys of the adjacent people like Alex, who don't create as often, but they really want to see our mission succeed. This is your General speaking to you. I hope you like the little intro with Ollie. There's going to be more of that. There's going to be a lot more fun stuff coming up. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts, please let me know. Listen up for different ways that you can participate now, because there are a lot of new ways to participate. And I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Creators and Crusaders, special guests and one-on-one conversations with members of the Brood and other creators from around the world. To be on Creators and Crusaders, contact Joshua David Ling directly at joshuadavidling@gmail.com. And now, Creators and Crusaders.
Used or misused, that right is not decayed. We make still by the law in which we're made.
How we doing, Ian?
I am holding on to my sanity.
More or less, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. What's been up?
Just trying to figure out how to turn my skills into money.
Oh, the classic question. Gotcha. Well, you did that in at least one way today, to a small amount, but still.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. And actually, I shouldn't complain too much because I sold 4 books this month.
Oh, sweet.
That's a pretty good month.
Yeah,
I gotta say that's a pretty good month.
That is good. I kind of hit a wall today a little bit. I had a really, really crazy day yesterday. I landed 2 more books for recording that I'm going to be working on after this tonight. But yesterday I was working on some of that and some of the other stuff that I was doing, and just I went hard like all day, and definitely hit a road bump today, but I went ahead and stopped in the early part of the afternoon, had the kids clean up. They've been on restriction because of some stuff that happened on the weekend. They had a restriction where they can only watch stuff that is immediately Christian in nature, for the sake that's the only thing they can watch, just not because they watch something bad or something like that. I don't want to say that, but I wanted to restrict the screen time because it was just intense, you know. And they were it was causing them to live in other worlds basically and not take care of the things around them. But the thing that was fun was I pulled back on that just for one thing today, because I sat down and I found a copy of Kpop Demon Hunters, which has been this big thing you've been hearing about everywhere, right? Like, not just me. Everyone's been talking about it, right?
I'm so sick of hearing about it.
Yeah. I hear you. I sat down and I got 17 minutes in and went, okay, clean up the house. I'm going to lift the embargo for one movie that you get to sit and watch with me. Because it was that good in just the first 17 minutes. And it was really, really enjoyable. And it was just a great break from everything. It's everything Disney wished they were with, like, Frozen 2, as far as just like the really, really strong princess style characters, but they're, you know, not just girl bosses. There's a lot of depth to the character, and it's all, you know, that I don't know if you had heard, but the creator, one of the creators specifically was talking about how, you know, the villains are called the Saja Boys. They're the boy band, you know, whatever. And Saja in Korean translates to lion, and they even call their fans their pride. And they said the reason we named them that, everyone was been asking about the Christian influence on this film. Yeah, duh. The Saja Boys are they're the Saja Boys because the devil goes about like a roaring lion. You know. And so, like, it's not explicitly Christian, but it is as implicitly Christian as you can possibly get. The demons are really bad, like, all, you know, just really good movie. So I enjoyed it thoroughly with the kids, and so that was just a good break, you know, for just one little movie in the afternoon. I've been trying to get back at it today and having a hard time getting back at it. I meant to get you art for the next one, but I'll get it probably tomorrow for the Broodcast. I kind of want to do the same thing. I might just give it to you verbal if you can take it, but the basic idea is the same the way that I've situated everything, same sort of thing, but like a pub wall with like little pictures of like C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, like in frames, you know, that kind of a thing. And then I can put the two big frames over that, you know, like I did on the other one that I sent you. But that's kind of what I'm going for. If you want to go hard with that and have fun with it however you want, maybe some gilded golden frame kind of things instead of the wood ones this time, that would be, you know, something like that, you know, or something tarnished bronze, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
If you're willing to take that, that's
Okay,
fine. Otherwise, I'll get you mock-ups for it another time.
Okay, yeah, I can probably work that out. I just need to think about it for a day or two.
Of course. How's everything going for you otherwise? You said you sold 4 books. That's good. You're starting to push a little harder in those areas. That's awesome. It seems like that's what God's giving you to do right now.
I mean, I really don't have a choice at this point. I just, you know, I'm kind of rock bottom, and I gotta climb myself up. I gotta climb my way back up.
Yeah. I
That's
hear
all
that.
to it.
Well,
Or that is my own fault for decisions that I made, but can't unmake decisions.
well, there's a certain mercy too in God removing options. You know what I mean? Like,
there is that. I'm also I'm in therapy now, so there's that. Yeah, I found a good Christian therapist, so
cool. Very good. You know, he talks about sheep in the scripture. We're his sheep and he's the shepherd. A lot of the goading into position, you know, goading into back into the pen, that kind of a thing, is very, very unpleasant at the time, but you can really see the grace later on. And that's something I try to focus on is, I don't know how, I don't know why, but you really want me doing this thing right now. So I'm going to be doing that thing. And when it's something like what you're doing, even though there are parts of it that you hate, I know that you want to be a storyteller and an artist more than anything as far as a profession goes, you know? And the fact that he's giving you that work to do, I know you're not, you know, and I'm not bringing him up to bring him up. I'm bringing up an anecdote that he used, but Doug Wilson and his son often talk about they had a piece of land for years before they finally were able to build. And they laid a basic gravel foundation. And he would drive Nate out there, Doug would drive Nate out there and have him rake the rocks every week. And he'd like be like, Dad, the rocks are raked. He's like, well, I know, but you know, we have this piece of land and rocks to rake, and that's all we can do with it right now. So that's what we're gonna do with it, and we're gonna pray, you know. And I've always thought that was a really good attitude about it, is even if you can't do anything, the fact that he's given you something and you're raking the rocks, I think that kind of faithfulness with what he's given you is something that we don't celebrate enough. You know what I mean? It's all performance based.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. Focus on numbers and performance and, you know, results. And sometimes you don't see the results right off.
Right. Have you enjoyed any of your stories lately? Like, just to enjoy them?
You mean enjoying the process of writing? Or...
No. Like, actually either reading them or listening to them or anything of that nature.
The stories that I've written.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed listening to you read them.
That's true, because I do send you the pages. I think that is something that I'm trying to do more but I'm having to read them in order to enjoy them because that's how I enjoy them. I have a real hard time enjoying them just reading them, like just visually. But that's a dyslexic thing, whatever. But I think that's something. I don't know, man. Like, I know a lot of people say things and they kind of get this high and mighty idea one way or another, but there's something to looking at the thing that you made, that you spent so much time on, realizing the providence that he brought you through to make that thing, and going, this is good. Regardless of whether or not it is successful by some other metric, this is good. It was good that I made this.
Yeah.
I've just been thinking about that a good bit lately. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing with this show thing and whatever else, have another format here soon where we're still working on it. I talked to Daniel about it yesterday, and I've talked a little bit to Alex about it. But the idea that we can, I think TK would especially love this, but you would love it too. I kind of want a democratic process on it to see who, but basically imagine a Broodcast episode where we're focusing on workshopping one artist's stuff.
Well, that would be interesting.
A whole episode dedicated to one artist, and we're all round tabling trying to help you with your thing.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool.
Right now,
I had a thought.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
So I had a thought just now. We did some like audio versions of my Walter Ulrich stories a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When I was first writing them.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we might try to record those again.
Of course.
Because I've added some new stories as well.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was just, I don't know, it's just a thought that floated through my brain. And
yeah, well, we could set that up as a podcast and do them as Brood Tales on Poets at War.
Oh, super! Yeah,
yeah. You know about Brood
Tales?
They
have a podcasting feature. No, I don't.
Okay, Brood Tales I introduced as a segment. I've only done 2 of them. They were both my stories, but the idea I've been floating it to the Brood, but no one reads everything, because it's the Brood. But the idea is that, and so I got to say it over and over, and that's okay. The idea is that we're taking stuff from the Brood, whether it's short stories or, full novels if you really wanted to, and basically just we're tacking them to the end of a Poets at War episode. So we'll have like the Burnt Marshwiggle segment or the, Broodcast or whatever. And it's a fully produced whatever version of your story, either you reading it, me reading it, whoever reading it, doesn't matter. Or, even if it's one of us makes a film, it can be the film at the end, that sort of a thing. It could be whatever it is that we're making. It's just narrative art, or even musical art, poetry art shown at the end of Poets at War as its own segment. It has its little theme song and everything. And so that's Brood Tales. And that would be a great place to promote a Walter Ulrich podcast, so if you wanted to run it or have me help with that, like I said, I've been wanting to help you with the podcast at some point anyway. So Walter Ulrich is something you can crank out pretty quickly anyway, right? Like that's sort of your pulp thing, right? So you could make that a podcast and make that promote your other stories, and we can promote the Walter Ulrich podcast through Poets of War. So
it's gonna. Substack has a podcasting feature, and I figured I'd just run it off my Substack, make a little passive income from that because I just got 2 new subscribers last week.
Very nice.
8 subscribers.
Very nice.
So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. I keep putting off doing anything with Patreon or anything of that nature, Substack, etc., just because my money has been mainly been doing the professional work for voices and stuff for people who are like they'll hear my stuff and go, okay, yeah, I like what he does. And so I've not been doing that as much. People don't tend to be as incredibly invested in my stuff yet, partially because I don't put enough of it out, and I'm working on that. And when I do, I've been doing it in small chunks, and I need to stop. I'm doing full episodes now. I'm not just doing the, individual poems and whatnot. And with that, in time, I'm hoping to essentially do a voting system where you vote for which one of my stories you want to be coming out next. And it's not just like your vote counts and we just count them all up. It's like, it's still random, but your vote weights that story in the randomness. Does that make sense? So the idea is you throw in $5 and you get one vote a month. If you go further up to $40, you get physical copies of your favorite story in the mail. CD, cassette, or vinyl eventually, that kind of a thing. So that would be fun. But I'm still working on it, still trying to figure out how to work that into a website. I'm trying to be more holistic about the way I'm approaching things, and that takes a lot of time. So, but yeah, that's awesome, dude. Okay, so I brought up the Crucible. Let's see here. Okay, how about this one? This seems to be tracking similarly with what we're doing. Has the rise of personal brand for artists turned the creative vocation into a form of self-worship?
That's a good question. It's one that I honestly have to think about, and I have thought about it, but not in those terms.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have. And I don't mean just people on the internet, but people that I know, like in person, have criticized my use of social media as a means of promoting my work.
Right.
And
well, it's work.
Have told me, yeah, you spend too much time on Facebook. Yeah, but it's also kind of my job.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I have asked myself if this all disappeared, if Facebook and Twitter just shut down one day, which they have,
right?
What would I do? How would I handle that?
Right.
If they were to shut down and just never come back,
yeah.
How would I recover from that? Would I be able to recover from that?
Right.
And so one does have to ask the question: Is it has it become a oblique form of self-worship? Yeah, in some individuals, it certainly has.
Well, yeah, but I feel like they would be worshiping themselves regardless.
Well, they would be, they would be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they would.
Yeah, one of the things I want to ask is, like, if Facebook disappeared tomorrow, like you were saying, would you still have a personal brand?
Yes.
Yeah. So personal brand is not something that's exclusive to websites. Darren Doan is fond of saying personal brand is your reputation.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Exactly what it is. And I mean, people see a lot more of my personal brand on Facebook than maybe other places.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's still Substack and things like that. And I think Substack is probably the better community for writers and artists than maybe Facebook or Twitter ever were. Because it was created for writers to express themselves.
Right.
And talk about important topics that people really aren't talking about.
Right. Or they're talking about it in 140 characters at a time.
Yeah. And Substack, they're on there writing these very scholarly, well thought out, articulate pieces that aren't, just trite little tweet things designed to make people angry. The Substackers want people to think,
Yeah.
And this isn't like, I'm sorry, I kind of went into promoting Substack as a medium. But it's as far as like social media goes, I think Substack has hit that perfect little spot where they're not just a bunch of angry trolls like Twitter, and they're not whatever Facebook is now, and they're definitely not Instagram. They're like intellectuals,
right?
Or at least trying to be intellectual.
I like to describe current Facebook as a tabletop game version of real life.
Yes. It's instead of Dungeons and Dragons, we have houses and humans.
Right. And that's why it's so awkward and stupid.
It's dumb. It really is, but what can you do?
Right. Totally. That is funny. I had never said that out loud before, and I'm like, yeah, that really is true and funny. Okay. We just talked about board game. Does the board game renaissance reveal a hunger for tangible face-to-face community that digital life cannot satisfy?
Yes. Moving on.
I actually dislike board games, but the reason is because I've always played the wrong sorts of games with the wrong sorts of people, and I hate people yelling rules at me, and just like trying to convince me really quickly, like, this is very simple, just do these things and it's very simple. And I'm like, okay, but like I have to understand the entire wholeness of this game in order to understand one of the rules. That's just the way my brain works. And so
okay,
you're going to have to explain this entire game to me multiple times and nobody's going to have fun. So I'm just going to watch. I like being around some board games, ones that aren't particularly like super hyper strategic usually. I tend to like board games when I can understand them that are either almost entirely mechanical or have some sort of moral or humorous value to them. Apples to Apples is a good example of the humorous.
Yeah.
And like the thing that is interesting to me is, a lot of our community are not huge sports fans. I am, of course, a big baseball fan, big wrestling fan, like I've talked about, pro wrestling and real wrestling, like MMA and, combat sport kind of stuff. You like combat sports for the most part.
I love combat sports.
Yeah. So, the thing that I like about baseball is it's almost the opposite of combat sports, but it's still very much a sport. It is strategy and mechanics over time. 162 games a season, and it becomes dormant with the onset of winter, and rises again in the spring. It is a game that is played across time, and the main point of it ultimately is to be consistent. And that's really, really hard. and it teaches teamwork over a consistent amount of time, which I think is so underrated, undervalued in today's society. And there's things like that in board games that we don't get when we're online doing something, right?
Yeah.
I'm there, but I think there are things that we can do online that we can't do in person as well. And I think that there's, like being able, you and I, to talk far more than we would otherwise, right? And I think that the board game comeback is definitely wanting more in-person stuff, but I think it's also because we've forgotten to have a long-form conversation in person. Many of us,
yeah,
It's
like we don't it's like we don't know how to do that anymore.
Right, so
in a lot of
rules.
cases.
Right, we need rules to as an icebreaker. We lean heavily on icebreakers. You know what I mean? As a society,
and that's not necessarily bad.
No, not for a time, but I do think that there's there's a time to every purpose under heaven in this regard too, right?
My goodness.
But if you were
like,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you're just like just getting to know somebody, you need a basis for starting that conversation. For example, you meet a girl and you're not exactly sure what to say to her. Like, I mean, she's pretty cute, but like, how do I start talking to her? A board game or something of that nature can be a good way to facilitate that sort of conversation.
Absolutely. I grew up in an extended family on my mom's side that we're talkers. We're people who like to gather and talk, and we'll talk to anybody about anything. No problem. My grandmother, my mom's mom, Patricia Wilkinson, would literally talk to the crackhead on the corner about geopolitical brainwashing, and what she is totally fine to talk to whoever about whatever they wanted to talk about for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just what I was raised with. And on top of that, I got to experience through DJing for so many years with my dad, the tangible skill of room control. And by that, I mean being able to be a thermometer for the room, being able to tell like what's the general vibe and calculate that in a very quick and accurate way, and be like, I know what this needs, a specific song from a catalog in order to get this thing, jacked up a little bit, right? Like raise the vibes, right? And even if you don't have music involved, even if I don't have like a DJ catalog to work with, I've gotten good at merging the skill of being able to talk to anyone and reading the room to where I can talk to a whole bunch of people at the same time and usually make people feel comfortable, right? And those are skills that I have to remember sometimes. Not everyone has that, and that doesn't mean that they're stunted socially. Those are specific skills, right?
Well, there's soft skills,
right, that
not everyone has, and I'm finding out that I'm kind of missing some of those skills.
Right.
It's the part of the nature of having been homeschooled is that sometimes you miss out on the soft skills.
Right.
And I mean, to be fair, I'm much better than I was in my early 20s, but the room control is something that's probably far beyond me.
Right.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
Well, you also have one of the skills that a lot of public schoolers wish they had, and that you're not afraid of saying what is right in the moment to the best of your ability, whatever the case may be. There are times where you hold back, but usually you have a calculated reason for holding back, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, on both ends, right? But you have an intuition for saying the right thing, which is something that a lot of people wish they had, right? And so that's something that I've always admired about you. You don't have a problem saying what you believe needs to be said when it needs to be said. I think that's an underrated skill that's coming back in a lot of cases. But some people they either need to be quiet or they need to get better things to talk about too. So there's that end of it too.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who they've got a good intuition for when to say the right thing, and even somewhat what the right thing is to say. But the problem is the thing they want is the problem. The thing that they want to talk about, the thing that they want to push is the problem, more than the instinct of the right timing or even the right thing to say given your understanding of the situation, right?
Yeah.
So, well, that was good. Have you what's the last movie that you saw? It doesn't need to be like a recent movie. It can be something that you saw for the first time recently that came anywhere close to cracking your top 20 movies.
You're listening to Operation Brood Tales. Stories from all over the broad expanse of our Brood Empire. Tales to encourage, to edify, and to win the hearts and minds of the world. Bringing everyone stories for their hearts for generations to come. And now, Operation Brood Tales on Poets at War.
Ghost Trucker, Season 1, En route to Fort Bragg. Episode 1, Stragglers, by Joshua David Ling. For more information, visit joshuadavidling.com.
Rolling through the phantom miles, where the lost ones roam these aisles. Neon signs and truck stop lights guide the spirits through the night. We're all running from something here down these highways of ancient fears. But in the dark, between the lines, we find each other's broken light.
I'll never forget the songs we sang, never forget the games we played. I'll never forget the times we had, and I owe it all to you.
Mike Kraft scoffed at the lyrics on the radio inside that run-down truck stop. He had a long way to go to Fort Bragg, California, and his mind needed to be tip-top. An old man sat on a guitar stool behind the counter, chewing gum. He stared at a TV listlessly, seeming to have no fun.
Y'all ain't got the jerky I want. What you reckon is the best?
The man took no notice of Mike, so Mike continued to press.
I said you ain't got the jerky I want.
I heard you before. I don't know, I don't eat jerky.
What good are you for?
The man grabbed a shotgun off his counter and began to head toward Mike. Mike put his hands up in a placating gesture.
Hey, I don't want...
Shh! The man shushed him and walked past Mike to the door. There's a storm brewing out on Route 50. There's lots of danger in store. Many have gone down that road. Many have been driven mad. Your truck may survive that white-hot desert, but will your mind last? Mike laughed aloud and sighed again.
That's a good one there. I've done this one 8 times before, but you sure did give me a scare. Look, I'll just take this one here. Will you ring me up?
The man put his gun back on the counter and sat back down with a huff. He rang up Mike and said no more. Mike went back out to his truck.
Stupid, crazy small-town men. I wish I had another spot for my truck.
He climbed inside and dialed the radio, and soon he began to drink. He looked at a few pictures on his wall and just sat there, trying to think. He saw his mom, his dad, and others, but he stared at an empty spot.
Get some good sleep tonight, Mike. It's a long road ahead.
Stop!
Mike jumped at the sudden scream from his speakers. The radio crackled and popped. But a moment later, his signal came back, and he searched around for his Glock. But nothing else happened that night. And in fact, he slept well. It's a good thing, too, because he would need it to make it through the desert's spells. As Mike Kraft flew down the highway, The radio continued its static. The interference was getting to him, as was the enigmatic moment several hours ago when the radio screamed at him. And the weather wasn't looking too good either. In fact, it looked rather grim. As the road stretched on and on, a tiny shape came into view. It was so dark that he almost missed it, and his alertness he renewed. He swerved to avoid the humanish object, but he felt that something was hit. He cursed under his breath and pulled over to take a look at it. He ran back 50 yards or so and saw a little girl. She was shaking in the cold of the desert night, and fright had rocked her world. She stared down at the remnants of a hardcover backpack, the victim of Mike's 18 wheels, and when Mike shouted, she shouted back.
"What the flying squirrel are you doing? Do you realize where you are?"
"I'm walking to California. Is it very far?"
The girl shook with cold and fear. Mike couldn't believe his eyes. He grabbed his phone from out of his pocket and lifted it to the skies.
"No signal. Figures. Dispatch had been pinching pennies, downgrading our phone service and plans. What a bunch of ninnies. Girl, what is your name?"
The girl took a moment to respond as Mike grew patient with her.
"Melanie is my name."
"Well, I'm not leaving you here for sure. Come with me to the next town, and the police can help you there."
They gathered up her undamaged belongings and got aboard his truck and drove on to the next town to see what would be their luck. Night air was still upon their route. Not even a little breeze. Melanie lay cuddled up in the passenger seat as Mike drove steadily and with ease. Now that she had drifted to sleep, he flipped on his radio, hoping to find a good station to keep him alert and on the go. He flipped to the first channel on the dial. "I'll never forget the songs we sang. I'll never forget the games we played. I'll never forget the times we had, and I owe it all to you." Mike changed the station. He hated that song, but it buzzed and crackled, and before too long, it repeated those same 4 lines again, and he punched the radio in frustration then. "I'll never forget the songs we sang. I'll never forget the games we played. I'll never forget the times we had, and I owe it all to you." Melanie stirred at the sound of the punch and the swelling of the tune. Then Mike tried to turn it off, but the song fought through the gloom of the night and the darkness around and began to grow louder than every other sound. "I'll never forget the songs we sang. I'll never forget the games we played. I'll never forget the times we had, and I owe it all to you." Melanie stirred as Mike grew cold, but the noise continued to grow. But Mike had to hold his wheel tight and keep his eyes on the road. For even though he felt no wind against the sides of his rig, the overhead roadway signs quavered and started to do a jig. Melanie screamed as one fell down, and Mike had to swerve to pass. Others began to melt like butter as they went under an overpass.
"Just hang on!"
Mike screamed aloud as they rocketed down the road, and Melanie closed her eyes shut and tried to be brave and bold. The next thing Melanie knew, she was waking up in a bed. She smelled bacon and eggs cooking, which soothed her aching head.
"Hey, you waking up over there?"
The gruff trucker yelled at her. She covered her ears with a pillow, and he laughed.
"Just making sure."
A few moments later, Melanie yawned and stretched her tiny arms. Mike brought a plate over to her, and she smiled at the breakfast warm.
You ain't much of a morning person, huh?
Melanie shook her head.
Probably still freaked out about last night.
Melanie shivered with dread. Up until then, she believed the previous nightmare had been simply that, but Mike's voice grew grave as he took off his beige, dusty trucker cap.
You remember it too, huh? I'm not sure what went down. I saw things, and they were gone. Then we just went into town. You had fallen asleep by then, so I just carried you. I'm gonna take you to the sheriff's office later. They'll be able to help you.
Melanie made to protest, but Mike cut her off. His phone rang and he answered it, and began to loudly talk. His attention toward her shifted, and he began to pace all over the hotel room, while she ate the food on her plate. As she ate, however, and Mike with someone jawed, she thought she heard a set of strings as if from heaven, or God. She listened closely and followed the sound to their exit door, and then she peeked to see if Mike was still yammering away from her. Mike's attention was completely fixed on whatever his phone call was, so Melanie slipped out of the room without so much as a pause. Melanie walked slowly, as if not to scare away the beautiful sonic creatures that floated her way. Every shimmering note seemed like a song in itself. They'd spring with life and fire in a moment, then dance back down with a yelp. They seemed fraught with sorrow and pain, but hope still lingered within. Then she saw the man playing and helplessly grinned. A man in his late 20s, with brown skin and poorly cut hair, was sitting on a bench by the hotel, laying his heart bare. His eyes were closed as he silently mouthed words to go with his song. A baseball cap laid beside him on the bench, disgustingly dingy and worn. It had once been bright and white, but the dust and fabric's cuts served to make it almost brown with all the sweat and muck. Melanie bobbed her head, and her toes began to tap, and before she knew it, she was dancing and putting coins in the cap. He smiled and kept playing, quickening his pace. She giggled, and the two shared a joy within that tiny space. But soon he played discordantly and fumbled to a stop. Melanie turned and saw Mike, standing with his arms crossed.
What do you think you're doing, boy? She's a little girl. Come on, Melanie. We're going to the sheriff.
Mike took her and twirled her around, and off they went to try and get her back home, leaving the guitarist by himself, confused and alone.
If she doesn't want to give me her last name, the sheriff calmly said, then all I can do is post her picture and simply hope for the best. My wife said she can stay with us, and she's coming to pick her up.
Sounds good to me, Sheriff. I just need to get back to my truck.
Sorry it took me so long. We got over a dozen calls last night. Must be a full moon or something. Everyone's full of fright. Seeing things like ghosts and junk. Reasonable people, too.
Huh,
was all that Mike could say. But deep inside, he knew something was following him down the road, but he didn't know how.
Well, thanks for taking the girl, Sheriff. I'm gonna head out now.
During that conversation between the sheriff and Mike Kraft, Melanie was in the other room, lying down on her back. She stared up at the ceiling fan, and then she heard a sound. The man's guitar was playing again, and she sat up and looked around. She checked to see that Mike and the sheriff were still discussing her fate. She rolled her eyes at some of their words and slipped out the back gate, thinking,
they can't tell me what to do. I've got to get away.
She followed the sound of that guitar. The siren song did play. Mike Kraft thundered down the road,
Finally on track, it seemed.
Finally, some peace and quiet,
Mike to himself beamed. He'd cut a couple of wires last night in his FM radio. Hopefully there'd be no more freak shows for his many miles left to go. Bang and clang went several noises that nearly made him swerve. Something was back in his trailer, so he pulled off the road to serve a bit of Texan justice to whatever made that noise. He pulled his handgun out of the dash and walked back to the door, poised. He inspected the plastic seal and saw it had definitely been cut. He sighed in both relief and worry.
This is just my luck.
He lifted the latch and shined his gun light into the trailer then. All the cargo was accounted for, it seemed.
Come out, you clucking hens!
Then sheepishly from behind a pallet came Melanie and the man with the guitar. Melanie had her arms crossed and the man's were in the air.
Why won't you two leave me alone?
He said, lowering his weapon fast.
She came in the truck and I tried to stop her,
the man said, blurting it out in a blast. I saw a ghost get in the truck.
Both of you get out now!
They carefully came out of the trailer and dropped down to the ground.
There ain't no ghost, Mel,
Mike said, climbing into the trailer. He shuffled about the pallets with full plastic containers. Mike knew he was going to lose money since the seal was broke, especially since he knew that it was a government load. He ripped the lid off of one and peered deep inside. Melanie winced and held her friend. All 3 sets of their nerves were fried. Mike looked in and saw some sort of black ash. He knew this was going to a disposal facility, so he didn't want to ask. He closed the lid and then hopped down.
Now what should I do with y'all?
He yelled above his roaring truck. But then, it began to stall. He stood a moment, slightly confused, then went to start it again. But no matter how he turned the key, no sound came from within.
I took a quick look, but it seems like it'd be smarter to wait for the mechanic,
Mike told his 2 guests while they sat in his truck's apartment feeling manic.
I had to use a satellite phone I purchased with my own coin back in town. Stupid dispatch has been pinching pennies. I told him, what happens if we break down? We're really out in the sticks. Gotta conserve energy in case things get dicey. Either of you want a sandwich?
They both nodded, and he made PB&J. And they sat and enjoyed their meal. Well, enjoy isn't exactly right, as everyone did feel the tension within that tiny room. Mike decided to break the silence.
Boy, why are you following this girl around?
He asked with great defiance. My name is Ozzy. I'd appreciate you use my name, kind sir.
Well, Ozzy, what's your game? What team are you playing for?
Stop being mean. He's just trying to help.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of, Mel. Look, why don't you just start from the beginning? I'm sure you've got a tale to tell.
The music man with Latin skin took a deep breath, and his story did begin. My name is Oswaldo Dominguez. Most people call me Ozzy. I've been hitchhiking from Palestina, Mexico, like a one-minded kamikaze. My family sent me to the States. Their situation is dire. Twice our town has been burned by deliberately set fires. I am almost at the end of my funds. I had almost given up hope. Then this girl, who reminds me of my daughter, threw me a saving rope. They told me you're going to California, and along the way we'd go out from your truck and hitchhike to San Francisco. From there I can find a path to make it big and play my guitar and be found. And perhaps that will save me familia and our little town.
You left your family? Don't Palestina got jobs? I'm sorry, Ozzy, but your story's a little odd. How dare you abandon your family like that? I had no choice.
Then they all noticed something very bad. Instead of their roadside assistant savior, they saw a most threatening sight. 12 black SUVs sailed down Route 50 through the night. Men with suits arrived and stepped out, surrounding the whole truck then. The 3 of our heroes sat silently freaking in Mike Kraft's truck cabin.
Say heaven's too far gone for souls like ours to carry on. But out here on Route 50 50 spine. We're finding grace 1 mile at a time. Between the real and what we dream, nothing's ever what it seems. But we keep rolling through the night, 'cause that's where broken things find light.
This has been Ghost Trucker by Joshua David Ling. For more episodes and information, visit joshuadavidling.com/GTR. Stay tuned for a preview of the next episode. Desert roads turn dangerous, and secrets start to show. I will not have this shipment bursting at the seams. A cargo hold of mystery where purple shadows grow. I just want to look around. In darkness past the floodlights glow, a creature calls her name. There are things out there. You should be afraid. Coyotes, snakes, dangerous stuff. When government agents close around and trust becomes a game. I have to pee. Through desert night she follows far, a guide with glowing eyes. She's running southeast. I need backup. In caverns carved by ancient stars, where truth and danger lies. Can you help them too somehow? They're in danger, aren't they? When monsters rise from desert sand and gunfire fills the air. Get in the truck! A little girl makes her stand, with creatures beyond compare. Yes, sir. 4 confirmed dead. Will they escape the government's reach? What secrets does the cargo hold? When desert spirits choose to teach and purple eyes turn bold. Ghost Trucker Episode 2, Coyotes. For more epic poetry adventures, visit joshuadavidling.com.
This is Burnt Marshwiggle, a long-form podcast about metaphysics and swampy stuff. So hike up your waders and let's get into this mess of art, theology, philosophy, and fun.
Rocks. Wiggle, but my spirit's lit. Reality's a riddle, but I won't quit. Imagine the real, I choose what I feel. Noni in my heart, that's the realest deal. Mandolin,
enjoyed it a lot.
My mind, but I'm designed to find the divine behind.
Like, the songs were
They're
too
not the way
poppy
you
for
like.
my taste.
Yeah, they don't like how
Yeah,
they're
but that's-
produced, and yeah.
Yeah, like that's just my personal
That's aesthetics,
taste
yeah.
on that one. I get what they were going after. I get what they were going for, and they did that well. And I appreciate how it worked in the story. I really liked the way that they like put the lyric, used the songs in the story. Is just a personal taste thing as far as the, as you said, aesthetic of
sure.
the songs.
Yeah.
Especially the takedown, like the way the way that takedown worked as it was reintroduced during the performance with her being the victim of it instead of everybody else.
Yeah.
That was really genius.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the whole song is meant to be ugly. That's the other thing. That's the reason it sounds like it does, you know?
Yeah.
And so we don't know that until the end, but it's still really, really good that way. I like pop music. This style is a little bit more produced than I like, but only slightly. I'm also a little more familiar with K-pop in general than probably you are. I'm not like super familiar with more modern K-pop, but
I've stayed as far away from K-pop as I possibly could.
K-pop is the thing that I admire about K-pop versus especially just Asian pop in general, but especially I think K-pop has a slight edge on J-pop and some of the other ones out there. But they pick an aesthetic, they blow it up with their own production, the way they do things, and then they flesh out the details. That is not the approach that pop music in the United States has ever taken. A big chunk of pop music in the United States is
not in a bad way necessarily. They do something else. It's more like the Beatles approach, where it's mostly vibes, and then like get the lyrics down, get them solid so that they uphold the vibe, and try and make it as universal as possible and as easy to catch every little detail, a good amount of repetition so people can, get the earworm in their head and you can sell the records, right? K-pop actually
pop hasn't been, at least in America, properly like artistic since the 1950s. Like as soon as the Beatles came over from England and hit it as ridiculously, insanely big as they did, like pop was over as a properly artistic medium.
There are flashes of brilliance during the 1980s,
Michael Jackson,
the late 90s, and the early to mid 2010s. There are definitely.
I'd say that we're even seeing flashes of. I'd say that we're even seeing flashes of genius occasionally now.
Yes,
but like it's one here, one there, something like that.
Right. And it's usually when it's a send up to something else, or it is a just a return to even if it's not a send up, it's a return to something that worked previously still. One of the last things that I think was fairly innovative, although you could argue there was a little bit of this in soul music especially, and some pop music in the early 60s, but I think the early 2000s, late 90s, the low end piano music like you hear with Britney Spears and NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, and what they were bringing in was very, very similar in production to a lot of the soul stuff, and that's one of the hardest callbacks that has happened in one of these situations, and they kind of actually blended it and then created an actual fusion with a lot of pop elements that were popular in the mid to late 90s, and actually I think did kind of create something new out of a fusion, right? But it's still but that's arguable. I understand that. What's his name? I always forget his name. It's like Max something. It's the guy who produced like all of those songs. Anyway, but yeah, highlights, thoughts, things that really struck you in K-pop Demon Hunters.
Nothing particularly struck me. It was just everything was very well executed. The point of the story about like shame, like breaking the power of improper shame is like a really good that's a really good message to put out, and I thought that it worked really well. Every aspect of the film was well done. The writing was I'd say that the writing was probably the weakest part. Like there were it wasn't
more,
bad.
I think it was
by
more
any
the
means.
editing than it was the writing, because I have learned, I don't know if you've heard, but this was a 3-hour movie before Netflix made them cut it down. It was meant to be like a big sort of event movie following in the steps of Spider-Man and everything else, and they made them cut it down.
It was a 3-hour movie?
There was a 3-hour version of this, yeah. And it wasn't complete.
I would love to see the like full 2-hour 45-minute version of this movie, just to see whether or not it's better, because I kind of think that it wouldn't be.
Well, the really big thing that is, you can see the markings of stuff removed, is the character of Celine, right? Do you even remember Celine?
Celine is
Rumi's adoptive mom / caretaker / mentor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Okay, yep. Yeah,
You
I
can
can
totally
see. I
see
can
how
see
there's
that
a
there was
lot of
supposed to
stuff
be
there.
more stuff in there because there's like she's mentioned at the beginning, and then they mention her randomly throughout, and then she comes back as a character in the end.
Right.
And
that
that's
doesn't
it.
have any bearing on the end either. And so there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there with Celine. And they've revealed some stuff, but one of the cool other things was they were going to do the typical JRPG, KRPG, whatever you want to call it, thing of like Guima having a true form that he turns into when they defeat him the first time, kind of thing. So that could have been fun.
Okay. I mean, I've never been able to get into any JRPG, so
really,
yeah, no, that is just not. I don't like combat enough to get into a JRPG because it's all combat.
No, well, what ones have you tried? Because that's not been my experience with specific ones, but I understand some of the ones you're talking about.
I've tried a couple different Final Fantasies. I've tried a American-made JRPG called, I think, For the King. I've tried.
And these are all.
I know there was one more that I tried, but I can't think of it. Yeah, like just your basic turn-based JRPGs, and like the mechanics that you're dealing with. What I've seen of it is that you get a story told to you, and then your mechanics are fighting and managing your three-player party or your 3-character party to win the encounters, and then you get the next section of the story. And I don't like combat enough for that.
Well, you know what you might like though, just as something just to play through one of those and still enjoy it is because it blends elements of platforming, and that's Super Mario RPG, which know they did the remake of. And everything, but that one's I don't know if you've ever played any of the Paper Marios or anything like that, but those are really fun. The Mario RPGs are always really fun.
I think we have Super Paper Mario or Paper Mario RPG or whatever that we're borrowing from Debbie's parents right now.
Okay.
Can you take a picture of that ad and text it to Joshua and see if he can tell that it's AI or not?
I will look. What? Max Martin, by the way, was the guy that I was thinking of. Okay. The guy who's the producer of all those things.
Because I'm on call.
So
Max only
Martin,
producer from that era the only producer from that era that I know is Rick Rubin.
Well, he's been a producer from like the early 90s up through to today, I think. He's like a Swedish guy. He does so much stuff, Max Martin. You look at his catalog, it's like, whoa, laundry list.
Yeah. Producers are like that though. Like Jack Antonoff produces everything from Kendrick to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So
So characters you liked or character moments you liked, and what did you think of the humor? Because it was very bubblegummy humor.
The humor was really funny to me personally. Yeah. I like the way that they captured the aesthetic of anime and converted it into a 3D space. Like you could tell that this was the same animation studio that did Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Which is about as high a compliment as I am capable of giving an animation studio. Because Spider-Verse's animation is unparalleled.
It's really, really good. I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a couple really interesting animation things. One, on the comedy level, they very specifically did two things that they set out to do two things with the girls specifically. They wanted to make their humorous expressions ugly and as ugly as possible, really, which really added to the humor to begin with. They said they were tired of girl characters that you're not allowed to make ugly in certain situations. And I thought that was funny. It calls back to more like Looney Tunes style, or mixed with the anime or whatever. But and then the other thing was they actually specifically were not just in the basic like head shapes and stuff, but there were some things that they were doing with their mouth, in particularly in a few other areas where they actually filmed and studied Asian women talking and having conversations and stuff, and noticed some of the little tics that are different in their facial features, particularly Korean women, and have the like they do this one thing with their mouth where it kind of, I can't do it, but it like they turn the edges of their mouth turn in a little bit when they're smiling, just slightly, but it's not like a smile, it's more like a pucker. And they implemented details like that. One thing that I had a animation guy notice that I thought was really cool is Rumi and all of the humans are animated on 2s, but the demons are animated on 1s. And Rumi actually switches depending on whether she's with Gino or not, or whether she's like showing her patterns.
Okay, what do you mean 2s and 1s?
On every 2 frames for humans, they move every 2 frames for humans.
Okay.
And they move every 1 frame for demons.
Interesting. I noticed that there was something weird with the motion whenever I watched the trailer, actually, because the trailer gave me a headache. I'm a gamer. I'm used to 120 hertz.
Right.
I want my motion to be smooth. I want that's what I like. Spider-Verse worked for me because everything was animated at 30 at a full 30, and then Miles himself was animated at 15 or whatever. But the animation in the trailer specifically gave me a headache, and not a particularly minor one, like not a massive headache. I wasn't put out of commission or anything, but it was a noticeable headache. Then whenever I watched the movie, I was making putting all of my effort into staring at the screen and trying not to get a headache. And so I didn't actually get a headache whenever I watched it. But I noticed that there was weird stuff with the animation. I didn't catch that the demons were moving more smoothly than the humans were, though. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so it's pretty interesting when you actually go back and notice that. But yeah, there's a lot of little things and subtle things like that that they did that are really, really nice. But I don't know. Oh, hey, Brendan, what's up?
Hello.
How you doing,
So,
dude?
I've been I watched K-pop Demon Hunters.
And?
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know?
It was very interesting. One of the benefits of 3D animation is the fact that you can do this thing called tweening.
Yes.
Which is, you know what that is, but I'm assuming you're recording, except you're not. Craig's not here. Okay.
Yeah, Craig's not here, but I am recording. It's fine.
Well, for those people who don't know, tweening is the stuff that lets you make one pose, make another pose, and then the computer figures out all of the interim steps.
Yep.
And it was very obvious that they weren't doing that.
Yes.
It was very obvious they weren't doing that, to the point of I was sitting here going, okay, this is a stylistic choice. And I wonder how much of that is people like having nostalgia for the old days of animation, which was done in that way, but out of necessity because tweening didn't exist.
Well, have you seen Spider-Verse or no?
I have seen Spider-Verse.
Okay,
I think I know what you're going to say, but
no, but go ahead. We'll get what you're saying. Yeah.
But like, there were a bunch of really interesting stylistic choices and a bunch of interesting things. I have a couple of personal plot grievances, but that is something that we needn't discuss immediately. overall, I thought it was good.
Yeah. We were just discussing how they specifically made the choice, and this was pointed out by an animation guy and confirmed by the studio. They made the decision to animate all of the humans on 2s and all of the demons on 1s, and Rumi switches based on context. So that was a cool thing that they did. I thought it looked good overall and worked that way. There is a lot of
We have hash browns ready to cook.
Vaporwave, super bright colors and things that the motion and the colors apparently generally, although when he watched the film it wasn't as bad as the trailer, gave Alex a headache. So there's that. But yeah, there's a lot there. The thing also, that one other thing that I mentioned to him is there was originally a 3-hour version of this movie that existed, not in full animation or anything, but they had a full not just treatment, but like the whole thing storyboarded and everything else. And a lot of Celine was cut, and I think that's overly obvious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that just feels, I feel like if they had 30 more minutes, a lot of the plot stuff that was there that had a problem would have been fixed. I also, you'll appreciate this probably as a anime fan and whatever else. They were going to have Guima have a true form kind of a thing at the end, which would have been fun. But yeah.
Yeah.
You're still processing a lot of thoughts.
Well, okay. There's really, I actually really only have 2 major gripes with it. And one of them isn't even a major gripe. It's just I wanted a skosh bit more. Like the most minute of things, not to confirm the theory, but enough to make it hold more water rather than it being nebulous.
Right.
The first thing, that thing in question is, I can't remember the guy's name. I keep wanting to call him Jin Woo.
Genu.
But Genu. Okay, fine. Genu. I was not that far off.
No, not too far.
So Genu doesn't look like any of the other demons, and you find out that he was human at one point in time, and he basically sold his soul, right?
Right.
He is the only one who looks different from all the other demons, which implies that he is he's different, right?
Right.
Somehow. We're not sure how. That's the problem. What's her name? Main character has
Rumi,
the pattern on. Rumi has the patterns on her. So we know that non-demons can have patterns, except she's half demon. So that implies that you still have to be demon in order to have the pattern.
Right.
So.
Right. How does this metaphysic work? Right. Yeah.
If Genu is human, then his turn at the end is a functional turn. It is something that does not cause a problem because he is human. He has the that is the imago Dei. That is the fact that as a human you can be redeemed. Demons can't be redeemed. Right. That works. And if that's what they were saying, great. I'm all on board. The one issue I have is that I don't think we have enough conclusively to say that. I want the most tiniest bit more. If they had just, maybe in that 3 hour, there was one scene that got cut that they viewed as redundant, or they didn't have time to animate, or whatever. And that one tiniest little bit would confirm this. enough for me to go, okay, I have no problem with that.
Right. Well, the other thing was, and that's one of the big things all the people who are not Christians are super upset about is what's her face, Zoe and Mira killing the other Saja boys right before the big finale thing, right? Whatever. But like, okay, they were not trying to be redeemed like Genu either, and they had done a lot of evil things that led to a lot of people's downfall. But
it was also just really funny.
Well, that's the other thing. We have absolutely, it was really funny. We also have absolutely no idea anything about them.
Right.
We don't know if they were human. We don't know if they are
there was one little scene. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There was one little scene where and it was during a song, so during Takedown, actually, the first Takedown, where they're just beating up a bunch of demons around the city or whatever. Where she like Rumi pulls a demon aside and is like, are you what was her phrase? Are you trapped by
is he making you do this?
Is he making you do this? And the demon just smiles at her like, oh, okay, you're letting me kill you now. And then they kill it. Mira comes up and kills it, and that sparks a thing with Mira and whatever else. So there was a little tiny bit of that, but we don't have full confirmation of what that means, like you're saying. But I think that's the closest thing that's actually in there to what you were talking about. But yeah.
Kind of, but not enough.
Right, not
it's
fully,
not enough. It's the problem. Like, it's like the demon could have been going, oh, the plan is working, and then dies, right?
I also really love, though, that Genu's sin, the thing that he did, was still absolutely reprehensible, and they showed him redeeming himself, whatever you want to call it. You know, not redeeming himself, but having a repentance of sorts and coming back around. And yeah, there's some funkiness with the metaphysic and all of that stuff as far as just like forgiveness and where it's given and how it's given, and we don't have a Jesus figure shown explicitly, and there's all kinds of issues there. But like overall, the thing that really got me was Rumi's situation and her quote unquote shame is actually closer to what we experience with original sin, right?
Well, that's the thing. First of all, like one thing I want to praise, shame and sin are inexorably tied.
Yes.
And so in this movie, they made it very clear that shame is a byproduct of something. Rumi is original sin. Genu is
acts of commission. Yeah.
Active sin, we'll call it. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. Sins of commission.
So you've got both, right? What now? Obviously, we don't have a Jesus figure. Whatever. I'm not getting it. We're not going to get into that.
Right.
But this is the other thing that bugs me, and something that I don't know why no one is. I say I don't know why no one is. I'm not paying attention to the conversation. I haven't been paying attention to any conversation. I have been away from all forms of social media and TV and anything like that. I like, if in fact Jesse is right and every reformed person west of the Mississippi is raving about this, I don't get why, because Selena is literally doing the same thing that the Madrigal lady from Encanto was, and everybody bashed on that movie for the exact same thing.
Yeah, but I think the big difference is she was portrayed, and I'm not saying this is an excuse, but the grandmother was portrayed more or less as the antagonist and the villain, and Celine was a mistake and hardly part of the story, to be honest with you.
Correct, but it's still the same sin. Oh,
for sure. Absolutely.
And so, like, just because you're not the main antagonist doesn't
too in Frozen.
especially, well, yeah, it's this movie is what happens when Frozen meets Encanto. What do you want?
Meets Kpop.
At it with
and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
With Kpop and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So what happens
like, here's the biggest issue I have, actually. Like, that Genu thing, it's a manageable theory. We're fine.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal, right? The biggest issue I have is the fact that Celine doesn't go. What Celine, the movie would have been way better if Celine had said, "I'm sorry. I couldn't bear to do it because I saw the humanity in you," which would be nice because that could tie to the image of God. And then she says, "I did this because I thought it was right, but I see that it has caused things to get worse.
Right.
You need to, I don't know how to fix this, but I think that if you trust your humanity, you will be able to solve, you will succeed." If she had done that, then okay, we're going to break the Han Moon so we can make a new one, doesn't seem like it's completely out of nowhere. Because at least then, because as is, what do we see? We see, what's her face, whose name I will never remember for some reason.
Rumi.
Rumi. We see Rumi with a view go, "I'm going to destroy the Han Moon with my devil eye." And then she disappears using the teleportation that only devils have ever used.
Yes.
And then she shows up at the thing with, "Yes, we're going to destroy the Han Moon so I can make a new one." And it's like, okay, we missed the entire Dark Night of the Soul to Redemption Hope part, which is the thing we need. We need to know why she came to that conclusion. I'm sorry. Otherwise, this is a cool finale, but it lacks everything.
I think
because
a lot of
we have no idea.
Well, I think a lot of it came through the lyrics and this is what it sounds like, but I understand what you're saying. I also think Dark Night of the Soul started with the concert where they changed from Golden to Takedown.
Right.
You know,
right. Yes, that's the start of the Dark Night of the Soul. It goes all the way. We hit the deepest pit in front of that tree with Celine.
Right.
But we never, the next point we see her, she's out.
Yeah.
And we don't even have
I'm with you.
kind of
I'm with you.
there's
a lot missing with Celine specifically. And that's the biggest hole in the movie overall. I think if they had the time to dig into who the father was, what the relationship with the mother was, whether it was straight up, it could be anything from straight up, rape all the way down to they had a relationship, it was a Genu, whatever kind of thing. One of the things that they mentioned was, at least in one of the cuts that they had worked on, the story was that Celine, they did kind of a semi-betrayal sort of thing where Celine accidentally killed Rumi's mom trying to kill Rumi's father. So, if that had happened, that could have caused all kinds of
fun
and weird and cool drama and
that
stuff.
I had used to cut the butter. But I don't see it now.
I don't know.
There it is.
What happened to that or wherever things went. I think they just wanted to cut it down so much, and I think that was Netflix's thing. They were just like, let's cut it down. And so it's pretty crazy.
I mean, that's crazy, all fine and dandy, but I don't think we even need. I disagree. I don't think we need to know anything about Genu's mom and dad. All we need is Celine to say. All we need is Celine to give the kernel of an idea to Rumi. And that would have been at least enough to satisfy the where the heck did you get this from?
Well, I read it as she got it from. I read it as she did get it from Celine, but she got it specifically from where Celine was wrong. She didn't get it until she saw and found out how and where Celine was wrong, and then decided, okay, we're doing the opposite of that now. That was the way I saw it, but okay, I understand what you're saying.
Sorry, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's yeah. I mean, overall, it was good. The visual comedy was great.
Yeah,
I could have done without
I could have done without some of the sort of cringy, embarrassing moments, but that's because I hate that in film.
Right.
I want my heroes to be heroic. The sniffing the sushi roll like it's a cigar and making an overly anime face was hilarious.
Yes, it was.
Like there was a ton of anime influence in this, and I appreciate all of it.
The timing, it's funny because that was very anime, but the timing was a mixture of like SpongeBob meme culture and Looney Tunes. Like the timing of the jokes, but the visuals were anime, so it was super fun, you know.
It's very fun, and the fact there are some amazing comedy, like fourth wall breaking comedy, like when the pleaser of the three, the people pleaser girl,
Zoe,
when Zoe was doing popcorn eyes,
yes,
and the mean one was holding a bucket under her popcorn eyes and eating it.
Yeah.
That was genius.
Yes.
That is such genius. Like visual comedy that like
yep.
Love it. That was so good. Yeah, I just very good. Like very good, but there are a couple of things that I'm just like, it's like, and here's the other problem with the whole, we're breaking it to fix it.
Yeah.
That is the same answer as Frozen. Not exactly, but it's still the principal core of it's me. I am the master of myself. I am the not quite. In as many words.
I know what you're saying.
We're doing this for people, but the solution ultimately comes from me, from within me.
Well, they did do kind of power of friendship, so it was kind of more like us, but yeah. Because she couldn't have done it alone.
I mean,
that's clear.
Yes, they had the power of friendship and this magic sword I found. Fine. But and this magic sword I found in my demon boyfriend. Like, okay, fine. But like the demon, well, maybe he's not a demon, maybe he's just a human. I don't know. So it's like, am I too loud? It's just like all of the complaints that people have had about Disney, I feel like they're still here in K-pop Demon Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just done slightly different, so it's not as offensive.
Well, yes, I mean, but
it's
there's
done
a lot...
slightly different, and it's a better message.
That's overall the biggest better message. Yeah, the thing that really hits.
You still are the one who fixes your problem.
Well, hold on.
No.
Yeah. This is where the lyrics come in. And I don't know if you had subs on or whatever, but this is where the lyrics really are very specific to the story. The beginning of what it sounds like, the end song says, "Nothing but the truth now, nothing but the proof of what I am, the worst of what I came from, patterns I'm ashamed of, things that I don't even understand. I tried to fix it. I tried to fight it. My head was twisted, my heart divided, my lies all collided. I don't know why I didn't trust you to be on my side." And the whole point of it is she only wins the day by coming clean. The reason the old Hun Moon didn't work was because it was built on lies. And the only reason they need a new Hun Moon is because it's built on truth. It's coming clean. It's actually saying, it's being honest and transparent. It's a message of transparency, right? Redemption via transparency. So that's
the core. If you boil down the message of K-pop Demon Hunters, it boils down to sunlight is the best disinfectant. That you have to expose shame in order to get rid of shame,
and the difference between that and Frozen,
transparency and honesty. Yeah. Every major Disney movie, the message boils down to follow your heart, or
everyone else is
very
wrong.
Generic love.
Right. The message is everyone else is wrong about you. You just need to believe in yourself. Right. Whereas with Rumi's situation, her default state is hiding all this stuff. It's being, and yes, you can take it to the gay thing. You can take it to that ideal. It's meant to be more broadly universal. I agree with you there. But the difference between this and like a Frozen or something like that is not that she's going and fixing the problem by anything but coming clean. That's the only reason they can create a new Hunmoon. That's the only reason she can fight Guima. That's the only reason Genu was able to cause his redemption, is because he ended up telling her the truth, you know? So yeah. But that's
why?
Yeah.
But coming clean by doing what?
By telling the truth.
By accepting that who she is.
Well, right. There's an element of that is wrong, and I agree with you. It can be taken to that extreme. But my point is, but my point is, the difference here is not that everyone is wrong about. Okay, so everyone is already pointed against Elsa, and that's why they had to hide it in Frozen. The whole point of this was they assumed that there was no way around it and they had to hide everything. Right? There's a fundamental difference there.
No, I don't see that as a difference.
Okay.
Like in K-pop Demon Hunters, demons, people who have patterns are demons, and so if you have patterns, or if you're a demon and therefore you're evil. Elsa has magic, magic is dangerous, therefore Elsa is dangerous. It's the same thing.
There's an element that's the same. I don't think the whole is the same, specifically because the thing that makes the thing that redeems Elsa is everyone else around her changing. It's everyone else coming to an acceptance of her, versus Rumi changing, and the Hunmoon is now actually working and impenetrable by Guima, who thrives on shame.
Right, but how is Rumi changing?
Rumi is changing by telling the truth instead of lying.
That's what's cut out in that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's the explicit statement of how is Rumi changing is the part that's cut out in the section in between her teleporting away and then that.
Yes.
It's a bad filmmaking choice,
so right.
But that's where that is explained.
You are right in that regard.
But when you cut that out, the only conclusion that you cut. Okay, so what are we talking about here? All the humans love Rumi because she's a K-pop star, right? They're a non-factor. They're not really characters. I'm sorry. The fans are not characters. They're important, but they're really not characters. So who are the only other characters? What's her name? The two other huntresses, right?
Mira and
what
Zoe.
is it with Mira and Zoe? And what do? They start not accepting her. Then she comes back, sings the song, and they accept her. They're the ones who's changing, not her, because we don't have all of that other context from the past of the Dark Night of the Soul.
That's fair.
I know that there's a lot of stuff that was cut. That's great.
Right.
I don't know it, and nor does your average person. You can't take, like, if we're, like, as much as authorial intent is important.
Yeah.
I'm kind of inclined to agree with Alex when he says that once a piece is published, you can't, like,
just
make all that changes. So the piece itself, like,
I agree that that Zoe and Mira's part of the piece is frozen. Right? I think that the element of Rumi initiating that, which, like you said, and Alex said, that's the piece that's missing that we don't see enough of to really, like, fully grasp it. But the fact that she specifically states, I can't change myself, or Guima says, you can't save the world, you can't even change yourself. And she says, you're right. You know, like, that alone is at least a refreshing change of pace compared to Frozen. Rumi's arc is not Frozen, but the overall arc is.
I mean, again, like, I don't.
I don't know how you can make that distinction because, like, Rumi's like, I can't change myself. You're right. I can't change myself. I don't have to.
But she does because she stops lying. She makes the conscious choice to come clean and tell the truth. Elsa never does that. Elsa just goes on an adventure. Well, right, but she doesn't have to because other people are acting, and that's why she's not as interesting a character, and that's why her whole story is, okay, all of you people are wrong about my gay sister, right? And Anna's the one who has to go and prove it, right? Like that's the whole idea in that situation. Versus Rumi, who's actually taking the agency to come clean, saying, yeah, this is what's messed up. Now, the thing is, you can come clean and not repent. I'm with you there. But any character coming clean in any kind of way about anything, and that being a catalyst toward the end, that's what I found refreshing. You can say that it's also Frozen. I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily think it is, but that's that, you know. I understand what you're saying.
I'll say this, and then I have to go because I have Bible study. But I 100% still believe that once a piece of art exists, it is the authority on itself, and that everything ought to remain consistent with that piece of art. You can have some flexibility in there with reinterpretation or added context later, but generally it is the authority in and of itself. However, whenever a piece of art leaves a hole, not necessarily a plot hole, but a question mark, like a what happens in this, you can have multiple theories as to what properly fills that. Like, what was the intent behind the missing piece of this puzzle there?
Right.
And you can have multiple theories that fit there equally well. So,
yeah,
that's what I would say. I tend to fall closer to Joshua's interpretation of what's happening after Ruby. But there's room there inside of my interpretive grid of canon for multiple understanding of what happened there, because it's not a question that the film itself gives a clear answer to. And so you can have multiple theories.
This is the Broodcast, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join, visit joshuadavidling.com/brood. And now, Operation Broodcast on Poets at War.
We're lion, witch, and warded, yeah. Our imaginations running wild and free. In Middle Earth or Narnia, there's magic in what we believe.
Yeah, because I haven't really... I think TK has shared some things on... I think there was a special recording that was done after Broodcast because she wasn't able to come back.
Because we just had you guys and the Wilsons really wanted to be on, I recorded 2 days for Broodcast and let people know. And that kind of sparked doing more recordings in general because I'm changing to a monthly release on Poets at War, and the Broodcast is going to be kind of the main event. And so all the other recordings are more so for conversation and craft talk and, you know, other sorts of things. You can share works in progress, but it's less for that. And then the Broodcast is the big, okay, we're all getting together, you know, kind of thing at the end of the month. So because I just kind of realized that I think the amount of time I should be spending actually interacting with people should be higher than editing, uploading, sharing at this point. And that will also free me up to do some of that editing, uploading, and sharing on smaller chunks that may perform better overall. So, and it'll be a more entertaining show as a big full thing, you know, hopefully under 5 hours each one, you know, whatever, but like for a whole month's worth, that's something fun to listen to. Hopefully with good editing, it can be really good. So, that's my hope. I like longer podcasts anyway. They feel more valuable, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but I'm gonna talk
I like
about...
that too.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I like the doing a few more like throughout the month, because I think when there's only one time to share, like in the month, then it's like I feel kind of like I have to perform for that, like get it
right.
It's sort of like this due date, but then it's like if there's more, then it's like, oh, then I can just get into a rhythm. Well, I say I could get into a rhythm, but I have not gotten over my mental block yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's busy and stuff, and actually listening to the other shows becomes less of a priority for people, you know. And if Brood Tales goes like I want it to, I've only released 2 and they've all only been my stories, but if Brood Tales goes like I want it to, we're going to be releasing other people's stories in a more produced way, and they can use that to springboard, you know, whatever it is they're doing. And that's kind of my hope and whatnot. And it just feels like with everybody being so busy and grinding and doing whatever else, like I really want to make it more of an event. I want to make it more special. And one of the ways to do that is to put it all together and, you know, make it work. Have Sergeant Ollie speaking in between, saying this, that, and the other. We recorded this on this such and date, you know, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, so we'll see how it goes. And then the other part is just my own stories. I want to spend more time on my own stories too, because it's funny the way I came to this. There was a sermon about Mary and Martha like a week ago, last Sunday, and the associate pastor is not a Sabbatarian. He believes Christ is the Sabbath, you know, etc. But the thing that was really interesting to me as a Sabbatarian is I kept thinking, what was Jesus actually claiming was Martha's sin? Like, really? Because not resting is tied to a very, very specific sin. The Sabbath. Right? And the Sabbath was with her, no matter how you look at it. Jesus, the Lord of the Sabbath, was with her. It wasn't necessarily it was on the Sabbath. It's that the Sabbath was with her. And she wasn't interested in the thing that was of most importance at the moment in time. Right? And so for me, just thinking about that and thinking about how God takes the priority structure and gives us the general principle of 1 in 7, right? 1 in 7 made me think the podcast doing it this way would be better, and putting more emphasis on my stories and putting those out more often, and trying to, you know, be more of an encouragement and a host and somebody who's creating a digital Inkling bar. Like that's more important than any of these other things. And so that needs to be my, you know, priority. And then the actual release can be that one, you know what I mean? Like it can be put out there and whatever else. And so just prioritizing the important thing, and not neglecting what's really the most important part of what I'm doing. So and I'm hoping with people talking more too, like this, as opposed to just in the Brood messenger, that people will understand each other more and not have these caricatured cartoon versions of ourselves in text. There will be a much more real friendship. So we'll see how it goes. That's my hope anyway. But
yeah, I've really appreciated the Brudettes chat because
I'm glad. Yeah, I don't get to see it, so
I
I'm glad
haven't
Casey's
said a
having
lot
fun.
in it, but it's just it's really nice.
Is it mostly Debbie and Casey talking?
No, well, Debbie, Casey, I think Audrey talks a bit in the I mean, so because a few of them are now pregnant, so they mention things, and then TK mentions there's a lot. I think quite a few people that have all messaged. It's so much so that sometimes I like don't have enough time to respond, and then I miss a conversation.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And of course, the Brood itself is still popping off, being crazy, whatever. But I feel like with these, it has actually slowed down just a tiny bit. Which is good, I think. Not that I don't want that to exist. I think it's great, but I'll show you this. Might as well while we're waiting on other folk. I've been going back through and making thumbnails for various things, and Jesse's been kind of coaching me and teaching me a lot of what's it called? I guess thumbnail etiquette and stuff, and theory and craft and whatever. And just I've been going back through and trying to learn some stuff. This is a show that Brendan, mainly Brendan and I did, but also Alex a little bit toward the end, talking about the weirdness of like YouTube thumbnail culture and language and how it speaks to people and how weird it is. So I actually made kind of a
that was
yeah, that was one we did a couple weeks ago, or probably a couple months ago at this point. But I did this. It's in the chat in this channel. A thumbnail that is a parody of YouTube thumbnail culture. I just want to show you, see what you thought there.
I'm so confused. That's so funny.
Oh boy. But yeah, I was just thinking of all the Mr. Beast videos and stuff with like money and homeless people and things, and then like cat videos and whatever else, and so that's what I came up with. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Jesse said it was like ludicrously funny or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I like this one. Oh boy.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because sometimes, like, sometimes it is I just realized sometimes it is the thumbnail that, like, will pull me into a video. At first I'm like, that doesn't sound interesting. And then and sometimes now on YouTube, you can see the subtitles, even if you don't click on the video.
Right.
And that's been kind of nice of like, I don't have to actually go to it and I can kind of get a preview of what's going on.
Yes. So I talked with Brendan a little bit about K-pop Demon Hunters and stuff. Did you you got to see it with him? Yeah.
Yeah, we watched it together.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was kind of yeah.
Hello, Ian. Ian's popping in. He usually takes a second to talk. Is he there? Connecting.
Hello.
But yeah, well, he's getting that figured out. You were saying,
nope,
there he is.
Sacrifice and death.
He said something about pain, sacrifice, and death, I think.
I heard death, but
blood, pain, anguish, sacrifice, and death.
Okay, I forgot blood, pain, and anguish. Got it. Okay. So that's what's been up with you specifically? No, I don't know, candy along the way? I don't know. I was trying to think of something like sweet and happy to go against what you were saying, and all I could think was the word candy. My brain is broken.
That's funny. That reminds me of whenever I'm trying to cheer Brendan up and I'm like he's trying to not think about something. He doesn't, like a bad memory or something. I'm like, think about Guild Wars 2.
There you go.
It's like, for me, it's
my favorite candy things, Guild Wars 2 and oh boy. All right, so Ian, you said more for me, as in you've got a big chunk to read for us tonight from something.
I don't have a big chunk, but lots of people have been asking for more Heart of the Stars. because they missed Fred.
Yep.
So
no problem.
Seasonal allergies. Anyway.
Yep. They haven't hit here yet, but they're coming. I can tell.
So yeah, I do have some more of that if I can remember where I left off last time.
Sweet. Fred was flying the spaceship, if I remember correctly.
Oh well, we haven't gotten to the rewrites. I mean, Fred is still flying the spaceship, but
awesome.
Yeah. So there's some changes to the narrative that many people have liked. You know, they really liked my reprise of the story so far. So, I was gonna get to Dr. Small's journal. Yes, we would like that very much.
Cool.
Hopefully, I can get through the whole thing.
Yep.
That one's kind of long.
So here's the question. I know you have kept your resolve strong for various reasons, but is Kpop Demon Hunters eventually on your radar? And don't say Netflix, because I can get you a link. I'm very interested in your thoughts.
In all honesty, I don't give a rat's right bend either way. If I see it, fine. If I don't see it, I don't care.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'll get you a
I
link
really
later
don't
on.
care about popular things. I really don't care about popular things.
Sure. No. I'm interested just because it's simultaneously a ton of stuff you like and a ton of stuff you don't, and I'm interested to see what comes out in the wash.
A ton of stuff I don't. I still haven't heard the don't like part.
Well, most of it's on the surface. It's bubblegummy. It's Asian. Things you hate, right? Anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But you know what I mean.
I'm not that. I may be a little racist. I'm not that racist. I'm definitely not racist toward Asians.
You're racist by the leftists. Don't claim the title. You're not racist. Anyway, go ahead.
You remember there was this one episode of Seinfeld. I don't know if anybody else has watched Seinfeld, but there was this one episode of Seinfeld where they were talking about this Asian girl, and Jerry says, "Oh, I like Asians." And Elaine goes, "That's racist, Jerry." And he says, "Is it racist if I prefer their race?"
To mine? Right. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny.
It is funny. But
what were you going to say, Kerith? I don't. About Kpop Demon Hunters, I think? To Ian?
Yeah, it's got some, it's got some very K-drama-esque moments in there that... one time I got Brendan to watch an entire, 24-episode K-drama with me. And the thing about it was that it had a lot of just staring at each other, but this movie didn't have a ton of that, but it just, it had some, because it was throwing in a lot of cultural Korean things for the Korean Americans and everything.
Yeah.
You have a lot of melodrama.
Yeah. My exposure to Korean culture was the Korean restaurant that my dad used to work for. Used to drive delivery for them. Super, super nice people, but they would just yell at each other all the time.
Yes.
They would do it.
That's my experience in every Asian restaurant ever. There's so much yelling. Anyway.
And the husband, Mr. Kim, would be in the back cooking, and Mrs. Kim would be out serving tables, and she would shout things at him in Korean. It was, it was like watching a soap opera.
Yeah. Yep.
They do the talking with their hands thing like Italians do. It's funny.
Yes. Ian, I wanted to ask too. I know you're working on art for the Broodcast this month. I wanted to ask. Well, yeah, you're working on it. I wanted to ask specifically a bigger, broader question, because really it comes down to this. I want to pay you for your art monthly, and I'm going to be doing it. That's the plan. That's what we agreed to. That's what we're doing. But I want to know what you want to draw more than me dictating it to you. And the reason that I say that, and I can give you a whole bunch of options, but the reason I want to do that is because I want AI to fill the drudgery end of my spectrum while you actually deal with the important parts to you. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. No,
I think that's both of our opinion about AI, and the we want the good stuff where the good stuff is. I want you to be able to jump in where you know you can do great and all that kind of stuff, and then go from there. So, yeah, go ahead with what you're gonna say.
So I agree with you there. I think that AI is really good at proofreading, for example.
Mm-hmm.
No, not really good. Decently good at proofreading, for example.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to edit a whole book. I wouldn't want it to edit one of my books because it would lose all flavor.
Real slight pause tangent. Go to the chat. This is what AI is good for. The thumbnail that I created, the bottom thing in the chat. The little chat bubble.
Chat?
The chat bubble for the Broodcast. There's a little chat icon with like the little chat bubble, like a comic book.
There it is.
That'll get someone to click, right? That's for one of the episodes that I did. But see, that's the kind of thing I want to use AI for. Homeless cat, $1 million. Anyway. So that's an episode.
I just dropped like 5.
Okay, yeah. Basically,
I just dropped like pencil
5 pins. Nice. The point, that was an episode where we talked about the weirdness of YouTube thumbnail culture. So that's why I made that as sort of like a parody of YouTube thumbnail culture. Yeah. The name of the episode is Put It on a Thumbnail. So yeah, I was saying AI is good for that. You know what I mean? So anyway, go back to what you were saying about what you think you'd like to do or where you were going with that.
So the problem is I don't really have a preference. I'm good with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just say, well, just do whatever you want, I'm not going to do anything because I need
Kerith?
parameters. I need it talks.
Yes, you've met Kerith on here before, haven't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, Kerith and I have talked very briefly.
Very briefly on here.
I don't know. I just don't know him very well, so I don't know what to do with him yet.
Mostly just listen and answer questions. That's kind of what he is. So, right, Kerith?
The third here.
Okay. Well, I will think. Well, I was just gonna say I will think about then, Ian, what I think will be the best spot, because I really don't want you to do things that are drudgery. I want them to do things that would excite you, and I need to think about what will excite you if you're not so sure. So, but yeah.
So you wanted me to do the pub wall thing?
Yeah, for the Broodcast. Excuse me.
I'm still thinking about how I want to make that look. I've done that before. I had a pub scene in my graphic novel, and there was this lady on Twitter that asked me to draw a unicorn getting drunk at the pub, and I did that.
Nice.
That was fun. I would do that again in a heartbeat. So
Hey,
I
Joel.
don't really have.
What's up, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Continue what you were saying, Ian.
So that I don't really have any concrete ideas to give you. The what was it? The swamp thing that was good.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed doing that. Honestly, that was a lot of fun. So anything more like that, castles, dark forests.
Do you like doing the characters and stuff like what you used to do for me? Characters and story stuff?
I love doing the characters. I love doing that sort of thing. I like doing that in graphite now. It's a much more precise medium than watercolor, and I kind of like to be precise when it comes to faces.
Yeah,
but I have done faces in watercolor before, so that's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep thinking about that, and we could talk more about that later. Carrie, you were hanging out, or did you have something to share this evening?
I've just been working. I was like, oh shoot, they're on the Broodcast, so might as well go hang out because I'm driving back from Lake Charles. So I figured I'd hop on while I was driving.
Yeah, totally. Sounds great. Joel, you're bringing something, yeah?
Of course.
Of course. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, we definitely have enough to go ahead and get started. He dropped off. He may come back. We'll see.
Just because he's on the chair doesn't mean he has to go.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think that was why. he's probably driving through the middle of nowhere, or he fat fingered his phone. So, but yeah, okay. So we've got some things to share. Kerith is not sharing, if I remember correctly. Although if you change your mind, just let me know. And Brendan is sharing something via proxy. I am reading one that he's read before on here one time, but he wants some more feedback on. He's working tonight, and so that's why he's not with Kerith and all that. So we'll go from there. But is your sister going to be on, Ian, or is she busy tonight?
No, she's playing a video game.
Okay, by all means, video games are awesome.
She's playing a video game with a friend.
Nice. That sounds fun.
I would love to get Isabella on the Brood. I don't know if she'd go for it, but I would love to get her on the Brood.
I think I know her, don't I, from Logosophia?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I appreciate the other people you brought in. That's been good. They've been good additions.
Well, they've been thoroughly vetted. So.
He's back. They've been
my wife called. Sorry.
I said they've been thoroughly vetted.
Yes, they've been great. So, all right. Well, we can get. Go ahead, Ian.
I've been friends with those folks for a while now, and I kind of know that they're not gonna screw things up.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I trust them enough not to screw things up.
Well, now comes the time of who do we want to start? Who wants to start? There's 3 to share right now. You want to go, Ian? By all means, go right ahead.
Yes, I would like to go.
Kick us off with Fred and the crew.
Heart of the Stars. My space fantasy novella. I'm going to go, I think, to chapter 3. And I'm just going to pick up where I left off last week, and then I'll introduce the next chapter of the book. Not last week, last month. Holy crap. Was it chapter 3? No, it was chapter 2.
Well, last time you shared something about Walter and this hotel room. Number 13.
Oh, yeah. Right. Now, anyway, I'll just get right into it. So, Eddie received for his birthday, his grandfather, a journal from his grandfather's father, who was a geologist and explored many different parts of the world in the 1930s. So he was, or maybe his grandfather's grandfather. Yeah, his grandfather's grandfather, who was a explorer. He was a geologist. He went to many different parts of the world, documenting geologic formations and things like that. And this journal came with the weird magical space rock that kind of that our story is kind of centered around, the heart of the stars. So this journal tells the story of how he came into possession of the heart of the stars. This is Eddie's I think it would be great-great-grandfather writing this. June 21st, 1936. It is our 5th day since leaving Kathmandu. Our geological survey of the Himalaya region is informative, though the weather has been utterly dreadful, alternating between snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Reminds me of my native Vermont in March. The wind has kept blowing hard and steady up the mountain passes. It's a struggle to stay warm and dry up here on the roof of the world. There have been whole days that we have spent within our tents while the weather battered us. Hard to take geological samples when you can't feel your fingers, after all. We are on our way to an uncharted region of the Himalayas, a place where no white man has ever set foot, about 10 miles from the border of Bhutan. Our guide, Tenzing, has been cautioning us about this region, warning us about the so-called Forbidden Valley in this region. Many of the Sherpa villages we have visited on this expedition have warned us about this place, saying it is a place of demons from which no man ever returns. McGregor, our surgeon and hunter, laughed it off, calling it heathen fables. There's nae Puritan in these hills that can match Colonel McGregor, he said, brandishing his Lee Enfield rifle. Myself and Maxwell, our cartographer, have promised to thoroughly map this entire region and return to the University of Vermont with our findings. And we shall press on, Valley of Demons or no. I am occasionally given to mysticism and that terrible thing we called imagination. I wonder if Tenzing and the other natives may be correct, that there is something hiding in that valley. My mind reels with the possibilities. No, now is not the time for wild fantasies. Still, there are things in this world which the white man cannot give a full account. June 27th, the 22nd, 1931. I have like 5 different dates here. I'm going to have to fix that. 1934, 1935, 1936, 1931. Holy crap, I don't know what I was doing. This morning, we traversed down a steep-sided gorge, which I believe would take us into the Forbidden Valley. I felt drawn there, almost as if by magnetism. We followed the stream northwards, the urge of discovery, to explore the uncharted, driving us onwards. My suspicion proved to be correct. The stream descended down a steep waterfall into a long, narrow green valley. It is surrounded on all sides by steep mountains forming a nearly impenetrable wall of rock. It is lush with vegetation. The air is much warmer here and very muggy. This is likely due to geothermal activity. Tenzing gave us one final warning not to enter the valley. We stated again that our intention was to map the entire region, and that he was free to stay behind if he was too frightened, but he declined, stating that he was no coward and was ready to meet his death in whatever way fate designated. Stout fellow. The descent down the valley walls proved arduous, even for experienced mountaineers like ourselves. I nearly lost my footing to perish on the valley floor twice, but we descended with no more than minor injuries. We found ourselves in a primeval forest. I have an incredible sense of antiquity here. The plants here are more resemble those I have seen in fossils, as does the animal life. I know the scientists back home will think it poppycock, but this place is the last holdout of the dinosaurs. Out of the misty greenery came the hulking form of what I can only describe as a brontosaur, its mighty girth breaking a path through the forest, long neck towering over the trees, massive tail swaying from side to side. There were at least 4 individuals in the pack, if one might call it a pack. Most were about 18 feet tall, at the hips. McGregor considered taking a shot at one of them to bring home a specimen as proof of our adventure, but there was no way his Lee Enfield could possibly pierce that thick hide. The creatures took little notice of us. Frankly, we were beneath their notice. They had likely not seen a man in a very, very long time, perhaps never. They were the lords of the valley. We were like mice to them, a curiosity, but not worth getting excited about. We pitched camp by the riverside. McGregor has fixed his bayonet to his rifle, in anticipation of further wildlife encounters, which I suspect may be many during this journey into the unknown. He keeps muttering something about bloody great beast and behemoth, and quoting some verses from the book of Job. Tenzing, meanwhile, has taken to chanting. I have a distinct feeling of being watched by some intelligence, something not quite human. Unknown voices howl into the night, some beasts of a forgotten age, bellowing their calls through the forest, lost in time. Never have I heard such a cacophony in all of the expeditions I have embarked on. It chilled me to the bone. Were I to describe it, it sounded most like the terrific vocalizations made by Johnny Weissmuller in his Tarzan films, only much deeper. McGregor called it the devil of the forest, and related stories about how he recognized such calls from his own adventures in East Asia. He had never seen one himself, but the natives identified the calls as those of the forest men. I gathered that he was referring to the orangutan of Sumatra. Tenzing called them the calls of the Yeti, or wild man of the mountains. He and McGregor concurred on this. Whatever the case, I have a feeling that they know we are here. I will be sleeping with my revolver handy. June 23rd, 1934, or whatever year it is. Between the wild howls and that feeling of something watching us, I scarcely slept all night. Whether it's the wild man or not, I am uncertain. We were awakened at sunrise by the chattering of an unidentified species of ape. It bore a resemblance to chimps, but clearly were not. Maxwell took some detailed sketches of them. Perhaps they, too, are a remnant of some supposedly extinct species. Of our supplies and eating a light breakfast, we proceeded into the unknown Forbidden Valley. About midday, McGregor's keen ears picked up the scampering of some beasts in the undergrowth. There seemed to be a large number of them, closing in, surrounding us. I caught the glint of dark feathers in the dappled light of the forest. Out of the verdure came a creature so startling, I nearly forgot myself. It bore a similarity to an emu or a cassowary, covered in dark brown to black feathers. But instead of a bony beak, it had a toothy maw. On the wings, if one may call them wings, which in the cassowary served no function, were fully developed claws. On the inmost toe of each foot was a long sickle-shaped claw. It dawned on me that I was looking at a descendant of the velociraptor. It was much larger than a velociraptor, however. I'm sure the scientific community will be interested to know that they were feathered. I heard the crack of McGregor's rifle, and one of the creatures fell dead at his feet. Drawing my Colt 38 Special, I put 3 bullets into the oncoming horde of avian menace. While not the expert that McGregor is, I consider myself a decent marksman, having hunted turkeys every winter since boyhood.
Was that it?
No, sorry. I my signal just died and came back.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hope for today's president. During my Colt 38 special, I put 3 bullets into the oncoming horde of avian menace. While not the expert that McGregor is, I consider myself a decent marksman, having hunted turkeys every winter since boyhood. 2 of the creatures fell dead. On they came still. One leaped forward, talons out, meeting his death at the point of McGregor's bayonet. More gunshots rang out. Tenzing drew a long, curved blade from the sheath, slashing through the throat of one of the prehistoric beasts. I put 2 more bullets into the horde. My gun was nearly empty. With shaking hands, Maxwell grasped his Webley revolver and aimed it at the menace. I doubt he hit anything at all. With lightning quickness, a sickle-shaped talon slashed at Maxwell, nearly goring him. I used my final bullet to save him. Then came the terrible call of the forest devil, echoing through the valley. The creatures paused, looking around nervously. I heard the pounding of huge feet and the snapping of shrubbery as a hulking beast of antiquity came crashing through the undergrowth toward us. Out came a form so fearsome and terrible, I doubt I could adequately describe it. It was certainly a type of ape, heretofore unknown to science, a monster of a forgotten world hiding from the eyes of man in the Valley of Terrors. It was larger than any other ape known to man. When standing fully erect, it was no less than 9 feet tall, covered head to foot in a coat of shaggy, red-brown hair. In appearance, it resembled an orangutan of gigantic proportions. In its right paw, it grasped an enormous tree trunk, which it flung at the feathered monsters, scattering them. They vanished into the forest. "Yeti!" uttered Tenzing in terror. McGregor murmured an oath as he aimed his rifle at the beast. The creature stared down at us. He seemed to show little or no real aggression toward us, only curiosity. Tenzing laid his hand on McGregor's weapon. "Do not anger him," Tenzing cautioned. "How'd he get daft?" asked McGregor. Tenzing explained that they would not be harmed if they did not threaten the beast. The ape then let out another of its awesome vocalizations before dropping back on all fours and retreating into the greenery. We gathered up one of the velociraptor things we'd killed, and McGregor and I set about field dressing it and roasting it over an open flame. The meat was not dissimilar to wild turkey meat, strong, gamey flavor, with a hint of red meat. Maxwell and I kept some of the bones and feathers to document the discovery. I feel that the wild man is nearby, still watching over us from his green lair. I imagine if it wished to do us harm, it certainly would. June 24th, 1935. I awoke to the sound of one of the massive brontosaurs crunching and cracking through the underbrush, flattening nearly everything in its path. The small apes nearby screamed in terror as it beat its path through the forest, its massive pillar-like legs crushing all plant life that would impede its progress. As quickly as we could, we scrambled from before the oncoming behemoths, for truly they would not think twice about trampling our camp and us within it if we did not get out of the way. Fortunately, they beat a path around our camp, making their way to the stream for a drink. Once we were out of danger, we returned to the camp. McGregor, Tenzing, and I had taken turns keeping watch. Several times the small apes had attempted to steal some of our provisions, but we frightened them off. Periodically, McGregor would check on Maxwell. His wound was bad. We had to stave off infection until we could return to civilization. He was in a good deal of pain, but McGregor kept him comfortable with medicine. We considered going back the way we had come to get help, but Maxwell insisted that we complete the expedition, even if it meant leaving him behind. I didn't see much point in doing that, as detailed cartographical charts are a necessary part of any geological expedition. So McGregor and I fashioned a brace and some crutches for him out of tree branches. We continued on, making slow progress. stopping occasionally to rest and to check Maxwell's dressing. Thank the Almighty, the blood loss wasn't too significant. However, he was growing weaker by the day. Should be weaker by the hour. I wondered if he would even make it out of that cursed valley alive. Still, I feel a strange urge to keep moving. Something is driving me onward, though I know not what. I simply feel that around the next bend in the path, there is some wondrous discovery waiting for us. June 25th, 1935. Despite our best efforts, Maxwell's leg is not getting much better. McGregor thinks it might have to be amputated, and yet we go on. After a brief breakfast, we continued down the well-worn path. The great apes seem to have mated themselves. As we progressed through the jungle, I noticed something strange about the rock formations in this place. They seemed unnatural, too angular, too perfect. The air seemed to be growing hotter and more humid the further we progressed. Finally, we came to a pool of sorts where the hot spring water and the cool river water mingled. The hot water cascaded down through a series of pools. Geothermal vents must be the source of the valley's strangely warm climate. I said that earlier, didn't I? No matter. Surrounding this pool were ancient Cyclopean ruins. They could not have been of any natural construction. Thick round columns 5 feet wide at the base. Fallen archways, stone pavements, broken down walls, all cut at perfect angles. They all told a story. We were not the first men to see this place. And they were old, older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids of Giza, older than any ruins I knew of. Dare I say that we had stumbled across a Himalayan Atlantis. Tenzing trembled with fear at the sight of this awesome place, proclaiming this was the home of the Ancient Ones. Falling to his knees, he began to chant again. McGregor and I began to explore the ruins, leaving Maxwell with Tenzing to rest his leg. The place will entirely rewrite the history of civilization as we know it. There were carved into the stones strange glyphs of unknown design, worn down by the ages. I doubt we will ever know or understand their meaning. We followed the cascading waters up through a series of pools into an acropolis of sorts. There were the remains of ancient archways and what was left of a dome. I surmised it was some sort of temple to whatever arcane gods this folk worshipped. There was definitely something eerie about the place. It seemed to hum with a resonant energy. All over the walls were curious symbols. In the midst of this Cyclopean temple was another pool, which was the source of the hot waters, and in the middle of the pool stood a pillar, or monolith, illuminated by a beam of sunlight from the broken dome ceiling. It seemed to beckon to me. I was drawn to it. I climbed up the cracked and ruined staircase, over bits of rubble, to the monolith. Sitting atop this pillar was a small, irregular stone. I call it a stone because there is no proper word for it. It was unlike any mineral I had ever laid eyes on. McGregor cautioned me not to touch the object, but I am a scientist, a geologist, and I had to know what it was. I held it up to the light. It seemed to tingle my fingers when I touched it. Its surface was similar to obsidian, but not quite. The light forms strange iridescent patterns on it. Placing the object in my bag, we returned to Tenzing and Maxwell. We found Maxwell and Tenzing at the pool where we had left them. Maxwell was soaking his leg in the warm waters. Tenzing had instructed him to do this as the waters were healing. Maxwell decided that they could not make his wound any worse, and so listened to the Sherpa's advice. Indeed, his wound was greatly improved by nightfall. McGregor was astonished, but had seen the same sorts of things before in his travels. I showed Maxwell the object we'd acquired in the temple, which prompted a dramatic reaction from Tenzing. He called it the Heart of the Stars, saying it was a sacred object. Tenzing then gave us a brief history of the place, what was known or what could be known about it. Eons ago, sky spirits descended from above, bringing with them the heart of the stars. The sky spirits left it in the care of the Ancient Ones, the people who originally inhabited this valley. Their civilization flourished until some unknown doom fell upon them. Then they vanished into the sands of time. However, the Sherpas believe that one day someone would come to return the heart of the stars to the heavens. I stared at it for hours that night. McGregor sat by the campfire, cleaning his weapons as the great apes, should be great apes, as the great apes let out their hideous cries. "You should put it back," he said. "It's beglamoured. 'Twill bring us bad luck." "Now, isn't that awfully superstitious?" I asked in reply. "I've seen many an eerie thing in me life, but that there stain, that's a fey thing. We oughtn't to hae touched it." He was right, of course. There was something eerie about the stone, or whatever you call it. And that's all I've got so far.
Gotcha. So, first question. Is this a thing that is going to be interspersed throughout the story, or is this something we're reading all at once at this point in the story?
I had assumed that it was going to be read all at once.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you're married to, or do you think that you'd like the idea of it being interspersed?
I wouldn't be against it. I also wouldn't be against shortening it quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I think it is very long, especially for a novel that's like intended for middle grade, teen, preteen readers.
Right.
Probably don't.
Well, also you said this is supposed to be a novella, so it's supposed to be rather a little shorter, right?
I call it a novella, but it keeps getting longer. The more I work on it, the longer it gets, and yeah.
I think that either interspersing it or cutting it down could be good. I wouldn't even necessarily do both because I really think it's really good. It gives a very...
I liked it, but if you're going to leave...
Go ahead.
If you're going to leave it together, you need some sort of introduction, because just coming on that, it's like, where is this coming from? What is this? It would need like...
Oh, there's an introduction. I just didn't read the introduction because it would have taken too long.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So like they this is the book. This is the story of great granddad finding this rock. And okay. Yeah.
Yeah. This takes place in the story. This is right after the birthday party and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if you listened to that part.
I like Josh. I did listen to that part. And there was a sword fight with him and his dad, right?
Yeah.
So I like Josh's idea. I think you could do it either as like a little segment before each chapter, or your main character could, like, every so often, whenever he has downtime, he keeps flipping through the book and reading bits of this. And so he doesn't figure out where the rock, what it is his grandfather found until he's already on the spaceship.
You could do that, or if you want him to know earlier on, you can have something in the letters or whatever saying that the explanation of the Heart of the Stars is on page XYZ, and then you can read that section and then read other relevant passages throughout the story, right? Whether he's reading them or just giving it to the reader. Either way. But yeah, I think interspersing this would give a nice little break from all the crazy stuff that they're dealing with to this sort of, it's not way more like realistic, but it's like a totally different tone, and switching back and forth between the two, I think would be refreshing and interesting, and feed that little ADHD part of our brain a nice little scratch, you know? But yeah. And then my other question was the chanting anything like boom, boom, acca-lacca-lacca, boom, 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 acca-lacca, boom, boom. Does anyone get the joke? Anyway. Walk the Dinosaur by Was Not Was. That's an 80s song. Anyway. It's called Walk the Dinosaur, and it's anyway. It's about like the death of the dinosaurs and stuff. So that, I was just thinking about that because I heard chanting and I'm like, I immediately go to that song. Anyway. But yeah. Any other thoughts on Ian's reading so far tonight?
I thought a little bit about Dinotopia. I don't know if you guys ever heard of
I love that series.
I think I have.
Yeah, I only ever read the first one, but it's like basically a journal, right? Kind of, and of this guy's and his son's travels through, and so some of it, the otherworldliness of it, yeah, reminded me of that.
Yeah, I really like that. I like how unapologetic he is about the way that they spoke during that time. He's just writing it as a basic journal. It feels like a real journal. He's not dwelling on things too long. It's something that I think lends itself to your proclivities and the things that you like to do in your writing. Journal style, as opposed to like third person omniscient narrator. You like doing third-person omniscient narrator, but a lot of the things people do with third-person omniscient narrator, you get like frustrated with because they're like, you're taking too long, get to the... And so like, I think the journal thing actually really helps you to do the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It suits you in a really cool kind of way. I'm not saying you should apply it everywhere, but you should note that it suits your particular talents and does the things that you want it to do. You're very good at it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to do this as a journal entry style because it seemed like an interesting idea. A lot of these stylistic choices, I have actually read Theodore Roosevelt's journals, his memoirs. So I'm borrowing a lot from that because he was an actual early 20th century explorer.
Yep.
And I'm also borrowing it from
Journey to
the Mountains of Madness Journey to the Center of the Earth. What's that one? The Lost World by Arthur Conan Doyle. Yes, that Arthur Conan Doyle. And At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, which is also written in the style of a field journal.
Not the 1990 series Land of the Lost? Anyway. Oh, boy. I don't know if you guys remember
I liked how you included the Enfield rifle, because that was a very iconic rifle for the time and explorers. And then I noticed a couple little things that you had right near the beginning. The guide cautioned them, and then when they went through the village in like the next sentence, they cautioned them too. You used the same word twice, and I would have, and you didn't say they also cautioned us. You just said he cautioned us. He cautioned us. They cautioned us. You know, I think a slight reword on that one would flow a lot better. And then near the end, when they returned to Tinsling and Maxwell, you have a sentence where it says, "We returned to Tinslings and Maxwell. Maxwell and Tinsling were doing this." It was weird to me that you had those names back to back to back to back instead of just saying they.
Okay.
Or just rewording it slightly. The other thing that caught me is you were talking about how some wondrous discovery waited us right around the corner. I feel like they're already in the middle of a wondrous discovery with all the dinosaurs and Yetis and all this other stuff. So
yet another wondrous discovery.
Even bigger there was something even bigger, or like I had a feeling that there was something else, something pulling me. But I felt like the way there was some wondrous thing waiting for us. It felt like that was just kind of like pen swipe dismissing everything he's already seen as, oh yeah, it's just dinosaurs.
The apes, by the way, are Gigantopithecines, which were not discovered.
Mm-hmm.
They were not discovered yet. They weren't known to science, not even from fossils at that point. But I decided to include them because, they lived in Asia. They're big, really cool. Big apes. I mean, come on. They're really cool. They're like the real life King Kong. Come on. Why not?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love the raptors. You did a great job with them.
Oh, thank you. Description on the taste of the meat and stuff too. I thought that was really interesting.
So here's the thing.
That was
I actually thought about that. Like, okay, they've just killed a bunch of these raptors. They're in the woods. They're probably hungry. Why not just eat a raptor? If I had the opportunity to eat a dinosaur, I would totally do it. So I went to Twitter.
I mean, these guys from that time period, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Twitter and said,
I have a suggestion to that.
Wait, I'm not done. So I went to Twitter and said, hey, has any of you eaten ostrich or emu? What did it taste like? And they just described the flavor, and that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
What you do is say the tail tasted different, because on alligators, the tail has one flavor and the rest of it has another.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Gator's kind of like if a fusion between like a really sweet white fish like grouper and like chicken. Yeah.
Interesting.
Funny.
It's really good. I like Gator a lot. So, but yeah.
I've never had gator, but we don't have them around here. So.
I don't get to have it often because I'm far enough inland that it's not like a common thing that's served at restaurants or something like that. But like if I go to Florida or go to Louisiana, of course I'm gonna have some gator. So if it's on the menu, I'm getting some.
All right. Well, my pocket.
All right. Well, I've got my 2 poems. I've got Brendan's thing, and we have Joel's. Who wants to go next? Joel, do you want me to do one of theirs, or mine or Brendan's, or do you want to do yours next?
Well, yours are really short, and Brendan pointed out last time it's great to break your stuff up. So why don't you do one of yours, and then I'll do mine.
So just one of mine. You want me to save my second one? Okay. All right. Last time...
Or you can do your 2 poems, and then I'll do mine, and then do Brendan's.
Okay. Yeah. I can do my 2 poems.
And then you and then like Brendan. 2 paragraphs long.
Yeah. And so last time on mine, Jessica Valero had visited the wrestling school that Joshua Slater had went to, and she talked with some folks. She hasn't talked to the owner much yet. That's her goal, is to talk to him specifically, but she talked to a local talent who had some success, a little bit further up with his brother as a tag team, and he was basically saying, yeah, Josh would get hot sometimes, but and had a temper for certain people, basically. But he was really good at what he did, whatever. And maybe if I show you this match, you'll understand a little bit better. And he takes her into a room to watch this match. So this is the match that he's talking about. That was where we last left off. This is Randy Kirby showing Jessica Valero this match, and the match is Joshua Slater and El Gato versus the Kirby brothers. So this is Billy and Randy Kirby. He's in the match that he's showing.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it a night. So,
all right, man.
It was good talking with you guys. Thanks for the feedback.
Please take a listen when you get a chance, and give feedback. Also, whenever you can get the Broodcast art to me, please do. We'll stick with that one for this month. Okay.
Okay.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night. All right. Joel, you're still there or no? Just off camera? He'll be right back. Oh, okay, bathroom. I'll wait a second.
Yeah,
and just
he went
talk.
to the bathroom.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, he'll be right back.
All right,
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
No problem.
But yeah, so that's kind of where we left off. This is all moving toward learning some more about Joshua Slater's backstory and whatever else as we move along in the story. And as things change. There he is. Cool. All right. So we're ready to roll on this.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. I wanted to make sure I didn't start without you. All right. Joshua Slater.
Say goodbye. I thought I had a second.
Yeah, no problem. Joshua Slater and El Gato versus the Kirby brothers. So this is back 2009. The current timeline is 2010. The main timeline of this thing is 2010, so this is the year before. Out in the ring, two tag teams stood, the Kirbys holding championship belts. Their challengers argued who would start off, but this wasn't easily dealt. I'm gonna start. Back off, cat. This show is my show now. That's Joshua Slater speaking. El Gato says, "Make me, Josh, you simpering fool. If you think you're starting, wow. Just wow." Gato turned towards center ring and was met by a clothesline from a Kirby. Billy, the clean-shaven, high-flying master, was pummeling Gato in a hurry. Soon the Kirbys were on their game plan, with quick tags both in and out, taking turns dishing out pain on El Gato, and Joshua laughed at the bout. "Need a break, partner? You could give me a tag." Then Gato fired up and pressed, trying to get past the Kirby brothers and get back to his proverbial nest. But as soon as Gato got to his corner, the big dog dropped to the floor. El Gato got a belly-to-back suplex from Randy and dropped on his neck hardcore. Joshua climbed back up on the apron and reached out for a tag this time. The Kirbys took too long to follow up their attack, and El Gato howled with a whine. He threw himself at his corner in pain and tagged Joshua on his palm. Joshua entered and cleaned house on the Kirbys, punctuating it with a powerbomb. Just then, Josh then went to run off the ropes, but was tripped by Gato on the outside. He stared at the sneaky cat below. "This is a matter of pride." That was Gato saying that. Josh turned to the ring and was hit by a kick that would normally shatter one's teeth. Billy Kirby delivered a super kick that was as crisp as it was neat. The second El Gato saw this attack, he walked straight back to the locker room. Joshua was dazed and wobbling around. Randy yelled, "Zord of Doom!" Because they're Power Rangers, they named their finisher Zord of Doom. The crowd went nuts as Randy raised Josh up in a powerbomb position. Billy went up to the top rope and he had one mission. The two had shown off this move many times, double teaming to put one away. Billy leaped off with a double foot stomp, sending Josh to the mat in a daze. Billy's boots collided with Josh's chest, and Randy brought the powerbomb down hard, and everyone who even witnessed the impact was instantly completely jarred. The crowd counted along with the ref, but the ref only got to 2. Joshua kicked out of the Zord of Doom, something no one else would ever do. The Kirbys stared at one another, completely aghast, and Randy yelled to Billy, "Again!" The crowd was split at this moment in time, not sure whether to cheer the men who'd become their champions no matter the slog, or to cheer on the impulsive yet hungry big dog. Once again, Billy Kirby went up to the top rope, and Randy tried to lift Josh in place. Joshua pushed Randy as hard as he could. Randy hit Billy with little grace. Billy went down and got crotched on the turnbuckle. He silently screamed out in pain. He then fell to the floor on the outside, and in this match didn't rise again. Joshua pulled Randy from behind by his leg into the middle of the canvas. He howled and motioned for his signature leg lock, and the crowd was looking anxious. Billy tried to get to the ropes, and then tried to get out with a punch, but then the big dog locked it right in, his signature canine crunch. Now we're jumping back out of the match to Jessica Valero and Randy Reed watching it on a TV. Randy says, "It was a step over toe hold with an inverted half crab, and it killed like you wouldn't believe. I held on for as long as I could, but soon it was just time to leave. I tapped out to Josh in the middle of that ring, and he won tag team gold on his own. Then he got hot and cut a promo on Elgato, and now you see why he was alone. Sure, Elgato overreacted after all. Josh eventually tagged in." "That's crazy. Thanks for sharing that, Randy. Now I know where to begin. Do you think he has some kind of lone wolf complex? If you'll pardon the punish canine term." "I don't know, Jessica, I really don't. But back then, he had a lot to learn." So that's the end of that one. Did you all follow that okay? You understood what happened?
Yeah. I didn't quite catch why Josh didn't tag in right at the beginning.
He was upset because they were arguing about who was going to start, and he just never clicked. As we'll learn, he just never clicked with Elgato. They were kind of thrown together as a tag team.
Dog and cat.
Dog and cat. Exactly. Yeah. So
why? Okay, so I don't watch wrestling.
It's okay.
It's tag team. Only one's supposed to be in the ring at a time, right?
There is a 5-second count where you can double team after you've tagged. There's a 5 count. So basically, any of the double teaming you're hearing is after a tag, right? Usually. Sometimes the ref will let it go a little further. You know how wrestling is, whatever. But that's the rule, is you have a 5 count between tags, like you would count someone out on the map, but halfway, right? Basically. So you can double team for a second, or you can break up a pin. You can actually jump in to break a pin, and if you get out within the 5 count, it's legal, basically, right? So if your partner's being pinned, you can jump in to pull the guy off of him or whatever, that sort of thing, if you get in and out within a 5. So that's the way tag team generally works. But you have to be in your corner to actually make a tag and become the legal man. It's not like you can jump in and then tag your guy while you're in the ring, right? You have to be in the corner. So yeah, but go ahead.
That was just something I don't know about the rules. And the other thing I didn't pick up on was that this was the guy showing her the video was one of the two brothers.
Yes, he was the one who tapped out in the hold at the end of the match.
I didn't catch that until when he was saying at the end, I tapped out. So I don't know if it's relevant, but you could say at the beginning, you should see this when I went up against him.
Right.
This happened.
I think I did in the previous one that I read last time, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just don't remember. But I love it blows my mind how you're so fluid with your rhymes, and we're talking about wrestling, because usually doesn't go well together.
Right.
But no, I had a great visual image of most of it. I don't know all the moves by name.
Right.
But
I try to mention what's being attacked so that you get an idea. You got that it was some kind of leg lock, and that he couldn't get away.
I got the leg locks. I got the jump and the thing.
Yeah, they double team. One, he picked him up, and then the other one jumped on him. Whatever else. And so that's you get the idea. So for people who do know the moves, it's a little bit more engaging, I think. But I feel like trying to describe every single move in nauseating detail is just not the way to go. the shorthand.
Since you're trying to rhyme everything.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you got it right with the amount of detail versus the amount of moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't always in my favorite books and things, when there's combat and fighting, I usually have a hard time picturing what's actually going on. Right. But I don't mind, because I'm like I'm not as drawn into like the action as much as it's
the drama.
It's hard because you still want to be able to kind of picture what's going on, but
the drama came across in this one, how he was arguing with his partner at the beginning, and then he didn't tag in the first time, but then he tagged in the second time, and then Gato was mad about it and just left him, whatever. So yeah. Anyway.
So I would add something in there when Gato leaves and he gets this move on him about like his nostrils start flaring or his eyes flash or something.
That's a good idea.
Because we don't have a reaction from Josh. I mean, we have his actions where he's being fueled by rage,
right?
And he takes a hit that's like a really big hit, and he gets up and keeps fighting. But we don't see his like. This could just if we didn't catch the first part about the partner walking off, he could just be really strong and going on. But this is what's happening is he's being fueled by adrenaline because of his anger. That's what they're trying to show.
Yes.
So what if he's screaming,
or
what if
with the facial expression? I did have him howl before. I did have him howl before he locked in the canine crunch at the end, but that was the only thing. So,
right, but howling is his trademark anyway.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree.
What if he yells, "Your next Gato" or something like that? You know?
Yeah.
So something to show emotion on him.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're crazy look at his eye or something.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna go to the second poem real quick. This one's called Homecoming Game. We're jumping back to 2008. So this is the year before that match. Okay. This is before he was wrestling. Down, set. The quarterback readied, and Joshua tensed for the snap. Hike came the ball into the quarterback's hands, and Joshua began to scrap. The play finished with an incomplete pass, but Joshua was called for holding. Joshua ran right up to the ref and began some severe scolding. "What are you talking about? That wasn't a hold. Did you forget what a hold is because you're so old?" Joshua's coach yelled from across the field and was running over to stop him. The referee looked at the young high schooler, confused why he'd argue on a whim. Joshua was usually a quiet player, never arguing a call. Then he saw Josh look into the stands and he understood it all. Joshua lowered his voice and said, "Please, man, throw me out." The ref blew his whistle and tossed Joshua, and the crowd disapproved with shouts. The homecoming crowd, however, turned to cheers when Joshua entered the stands and took a seat by his best friend in the world, his lovely fiancée, Anne. Anne blushed and laughed as Joshua came up and pulled off his shoulder pads. "You could have played into the third quarter. We've got this game sewn up bad. You're going to have to make it up in practice. You know the coach is going to ride you like a mule. All worth it to spend time with you, my dear. If that's what it costs, it's cool." So that was that one. So we get a little bit further back.
Silly.
We're starting to connect things. So, but yeah, that's supposed to be a cute little funny silly one. So, any thoughts on that one before we move forward?
I wonder if he's that much rather be with her than play the game. Why isn't he quitting?
Yeah, that's going to be a factor. You're looking in the right direction.
Okay. I mean, it's so short. There's not that much to unpack.
Yeah, it is short. It is. It's a fun little scene, you know. I don't know how to talk about it a whole lot without the further scenes, you know, in this episode, but
right.
But yeah. If there are no other thoughts, we can move on. That's not a problem. You guys gave me a lot on the last one, so Joel's gonna be next, and then we'll go to Brendan.
This is our newest kitten.
Ooh, cutie.
We're up to 7 now.
7 now? Nice. What's that one's name?
7. Milkshake.
Milkshake?
My daughter named it.
Very nice. All right.
And then the orange one that was in my lap earlier
was
Buster. We found him in a car engine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, glad you did. So yeah, the floor is yours, Joel, when you're ready, and we can go from there.
All right. So we're going back to Nanite Wars.
Okay.
I only did 3 parts of Ghost Warrior, and they all seemed pretty successful.
Yeah, they were fun.
So last time, Fox found a girl that had a nanite, and she was a zombie. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled her out, and there was an argument with Kira, and Zoe came around the corner, and Kira had snapped at her and then apologized and said, Zoe, you can go ahead and take care of her. And then she sat down and talked with Starlet. So we're going to follow Zoe now. And Zoe follows Fox into the small medical room with Zakaz. She took off the glasses Starlet had given her, thinking they made her look less cute. Hi, she said when he saw her. Kira told me to come help with the little girl. She had so much more she wanted to say, but this felt like it wasn't the time. Fox was still talking to the little girl as he handed her carefully to Zoe and started taking off his armor. She's awake. I think she can hear us, he said, still focusing on the child. Hello, little one. I'm Zoe. Zakaz, do you have something I could use to clean her? That door, Zakaz said, pointing with his tail, while preparing a needle. Zoe found a stack of washcloths and a row of bottles labeled soap spray. She sat on the bed next to Fox and started cleaning the vomit and blood from the little girl's face. Let me clean you up. I'm sure it must feel yucky. He saved me too. I was covered in blood also. His name is Fox. He's a hero, and his friends are from space. Isn't that cool? He can be scary at first, but he's really nice and a good man. I actually ran from him. He had to chase me. I hurt myself real bad. He gave me some of his blood. He has some special medicine in his blood. It's going to help you feel better really fast. They're getting some for you right now. Zoe kept talking to the little girl as she cleaned. She tried not to stare at Fox. When she did steal a glance, she saw he was watching her. They shared a smile. Zakaz pulled out a needle from Fox's arm and stuck it in a handheld machine the size of an apple. It began to light up red, then beep. This will take a few minutes. Then we can inject them into her. What are you going to do with her after that? She can't sleep. Her nightmares will be too real. How about anesthesia? Zoe asked. How does that work? It's medically induced sleep. No dreams. You can keep them out as long as you need. Some procedures last hours. Do we have what we need for that? They should have it at the hospital, Fox says. Kit set it up to do surgeries. Perfect. You two will have to take her. They can't see me. I will contact the nurse. I will contact a nurse and have things ready. Zakaz chirped. The device beeped and turned green. Then we have a scene change. Zoe walked alongside Fox as he carried the limp body of the little girl, still talking to her. Every few steps they would wipe a new tear. Zoe had cleaned her with the soap spray, and it even worked on her hair. Of the 50 nanites, 33 had survived the extraction and purging process. As ordered, Zakaz had given her 5 after pre-programming them. They had already started removing the hostile invader. Zoe held the door open for Fox as they entered the hospital. It was now a buzz of activity. Nurses and doctors rushed back and forth across the aisles. Jennifer spotted them and came over. "Oh, the poor thing," she said, stroking her hair. The girl blinked and looked up. Jennifer jumped. "She's awake?" "She's mostly paralyzed, but awake. We think she can see and hear." "How long has she been like this?" Jennifer asked, leading the way to the bed she had reserved. "We aren't sure," Fox answered. "Do you know what happened to her?" "Oh, yes, but we don't want to talk about it in front of her. She needs to stay as calm as possible. She only just stopped crying a few minutes ago." "How long has she been crying?" "At least 2 hours, possibly more." "Has she had any fluids? She must be dehydrated. Let me get an IV started." Jennifer grabbed what she needed and started hooking up the bag as Fox set the little girl on the bed. Jennifer used the pad and scanned the little girl's arm to look for a vein. As she ran the tablet over the girl, the red dot appeared on the screen. It had a large flashing circle around it and the labels priority target. Jennifer stepped back and looked at Fox. He nodded towards the stairway. They left Zoe to watch over her, and they went to the privacy of the stairs. She has a parasite. Is she going to turn into a zombie? Is it safe to have her here? Jennifer asked under her breath. She already was one. Parasite didn't kill her, Fox explained. Usually it destroys the brain as it's taking over. We neutralized it. We injected something to remove it. That takes time. They said there was no cure. Normally, no. But in her case, there's a chance. So she got lucky. I don't know if I would call it that. By the way, if she starts vomiting blood, that's probably a good sign. How can that be good? Jennifer asked, wrinkling her nose. It means she's regaining control, Fox said. When Jennifer still looked confused, he added, it won't be her blood. Jennifer's eyes went wide. Yeah. I think it may have been her mother. Oh, no. Are you sure? It's just a hunch. I took this off the woman. Fox pulled out the necklace he had taken from the dead lady and handed it to Jennifer. It was a yellow gold heart with the word Mom engraved on it. Maybe she'll want it as a keepsake. Maybe not. Maybe it's some other kid's mom. Who knows? He shrugs. She was aware at that part? Jennifer asked. Fox nodded, his eyes glassy. Maybe she isn't that lucky. She's going to need a lot of help, isn't she? Have you ever seen this before? A few times. I'm hoping that since she's so young, she may have a chance. Kids can be distracted by grief sometimes, or from grief sometimes. If we can keep the nightmares away long enough, maybe, just maybe. Jennifer shivered at the implications. They returned and find Zoe talking smoothly to the little girl, stroking her hair. She had gotten her into a hospital gown and had used the soap spray again to move more spots that had been covered. Her name's Hope, Zoe told her. She lifted up the little girl's shirt, showing a name tag, her name written on the tag. Her heart rate's gone down some. I think she isn't panicking as bad. Jennifer hooked up the IV bag and followed Zoe's example of talking calmly to Hope. They covered her with a blanket. Oh, is this their language? Jennifer asked, picking up the spray bottle. What is this stuff? It's some sort of soap spray, Zoe said, confused. How did you know to grab that? Fox asked. I don't know. Zakaz pointed at it, and I grabbed it, Zoe said, looking at the label. She had thought it said soap spray. Now she realized she shouldn't have been able to read it. Dr. Wesley came in and looked Hope over with his pad. Can you cancel the alert on her? Someone's going to see this and panic. Right, Fox said. Charlotte, can you... Thanks. Zoe remembered that what Tally had told her about handlers, realizing that Starlet was listening through Fox's connection. All right, Hope, we're going to put you under now, Wesley said. When you wake up, that thing will be out. You may be able to move a little, but if you can't, don't panic. It may just take some more time, all right? He injected the syringe into her IV. She looked at Fox, then Zoe, then her eyes fluttered, and then she shut them. Dr. Wesley told Jennifer his plans for monitoring Hope. That's it. That's all we can do for her now. Or he said, sorry, that's it. Is that all we can do for her now? He asked Fox. Yeah, I think so. Just let Zakaz work on the hostile nanite. Will you scan her from time to time when you get a free moment and send it to us, please? Fox asked, connecting himself to Jennifer's tablet. Of course. Fox and Zoe stayed for another moment, but there was nothing to do other than watch Hope breathe. Zoe leaned on Fox's shoulder as she looked down. Will she be okay? I don't know, but I hope so. They walked back to the hospital as another helicopter was landing. He turned to her to say something, but she cut him off by standing on her tiptoes and giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. I know you have to go. I'll be here when you get back, she told him. Your daughter is doing a great job taking care of me. He smiled, and she held his hand for the rest of the short walk back. Kira stood just inside the hangar, scowling at the kiss. She hid her disappointment when they approached. She had 3 handfuls of loaded magazines and a brown paper bag. Here, she said, handing him the bag. You can't last all day on those snack bars. You must have some real food. It's one of those burgers you've been telling me about all these years. She didn't look at his face as she shoved the magazines into his empty pouches. He took her hand and touched it to his cheek. Kira shut his eyes, and the two communicated silently for a moment. Then she pushed him towards the chopper. Go, hero. There are still those who need you. Fox turned and ran to the choppers as the rotors began to spin up. It lifted off just as he climbed in. Kira and Zoe watched the helicopter fly away. Across the water, sorry. Then Kira turned and walked away without saying a word. That's the end.
One of the things that immediately comes to mind is so much for not talking in front of her. Just fixing that with a little lowering the voice kind of a thing would probably be a good idea. Lowering your voice, turning around, that kind of a thing. But that was the only thing that really stood out to me. They did go to a stairwell. I may have missed that. But yeah, that was the one thing. Outside of that, I didn't have much to gripe about. It's good stuff. I'm interested to see where you go with the girl in the overall plot. Because you finished this one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm interested to see how she factors into the overall plot, or how much she factors into the overall plot. There's a lot there, and how far into the story at this point are we?
We are so I have 9 parts. This is the end of part 5.
Okay, so we are around the midpoint. Yeah, there's so much emotional punch with her, and so much kind of just generally riding on the success or failure of her for the other characters, that I'm really kind of just fixated on what's going to happen, which is, I think, good for where you're going, based on what I know about the story overall.
Her usefulness as a plot device, like her actions have no bearing on anything. Her usefulness is how people react to her and how people see each other reacting to her.
Correct. Yes. And I see that, but I'm just interested overall in how that's going to factor as things move on. Which, like I said, I think is good based on what I know of the story. So yeah, it's a really heavy thing to drop toward the middle of the second act, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of refreshing because act 2s are really slow a lot of the time. It's like we're just sort of just gearing up for the big finale, and everyone's just gearing up, and it's like, okay, when are we gonna get there? You know, it's a little bit of stuff leading to like Dark Night of the Soul usually, or something of that nature. But dropping something as emotional and visceral as everything that's going on with this little girl in the second act is really pushing at the heart of everything you're doing. It's a very strong and bold thing to be dropping in the second act. And I know you probably have a different structure or however you're looking at it, but I'm just thinking of it in terms of the 3 acts. And usually in most films, I love the first act and the last act. In the middle, I'm like, hey, they kind of were meandering. So this middle act is actually catching me big time.
Format.
Do what?
Yeah, my book does not follow standard format.
I know that. But I'm just thinking in thirds, you know, just because standard story stuff. But I like that. I like that there's something disruptive in the second act. For this book in particular, it just feels nice.
It's about to get a lot more disruptive.
Oh, I'm sure it is. You never know what's going to happen in this one, but that's just a good thing. And I like that it's taking the time to digest everything that happened to this girl too. That's good stuff too. Kerith,
in my mind, what's happening?
Oh no, yeah, go ahead. You're good. Good, Joel, you go.
The big important thing is Zoe is seeing Fox being tender and kind and she's using this as affirmation. As it's not just I like him because he saved me. This is proof that he is a good guy. And
yeah,
I gotcha.
She's using this to fuel her crush.
I gotcha. So, Kerith, what were your thoughts?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, that works really well for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have other thoughts on the passage?
I was trying to remember because it's the Nana. What are they called? The nanites cause the zombie. Cause them to become a zombie.
Basically, the nanites kill the host and puppeteer the host by...
Yeah. Okay. So that's.
They sit on top of the spine.
But then, okay.
There's good nanites and bad nanites.
Oh, there's good nanites.
The good nanites that the good guys have that enhance their abilities.
I missed that. Okay.
But, so the thing is, the nanites are just tools, and you can use tools however you want. There's a batch of them that have been programmed to do bad things, but there's others that have been programmed to heal or to be used for communication devices.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes it, because I was wondering with they were surprised about the girl, but then some of them had and I'd forgotten that I'd forgotten exactly what they're, but that.
Well, so to be fair, the last 4 short stories he shared were about ghosts, so it's been a while.
Oh
yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah. It's been a minute.
But I remembered the last time because didn't we mention the girl? The girl did come up at a different one, and I think that really that caught my attention. So
yeah,
I'm trying to do better at listening and providing better feedback, but it's hard to get things when I'm just listening rather than reading. But yeah. But it was really...
I was wondering about that, Josh. Did we have a format where we can send what we're reading in so everyone can read along?
I think the easiest way to do that is for the people who want to share that, they can put it in the chat right here. A link to it or however, and people who want to follow along can follow along.
Because I've noticed someone has said that very thing every week, every month.
They've said that a lot. We don't want to do it all the way ahead of time. That's the hard part, right? If we do it way ahead of time, then it's not really looking into it. I think just having it ready in a way that can be shareable would probably be best. I don't currently have my stuff in a way that's shareable, but I could get it beforehand shareable. For my side of things. Most people get more confused when they visually look at what I write because it's so audio focused, but I get that. And I think that's probably going to be the best way is when someone's recapping and setting up and doing whatever else, they can post their link and people can read along if they want to. And you can mention that you put it there. I think that taking the responsibility to do that's probably the way to go forward. Because me having it all together takes my brain away from hosting, and that's been a problem lately that I've been trying to work on. So just off the top of my head, I think that might be the way to go in the future, in which case I do have Brendan's thing here. Let me put it in an actual thing by itself real quick, without all the extra stuff. He shared this one. I mean, is that a good idea? Do you think
I would be perfectly fine to the thing we have to decide on, not necessarily something you have to do all the time, but we need to decide, are we going to use Google Docs? Are we going to use this platform? What platform? So that we don't sit here in the middle of the broadcast and say, oh, I'm using this. Oh, that's not compatible with my computer.
Well, there is that, but I feel like if it's available on the web, most people are using desktop, but some are using mobile. If you want to read along, most phones do some kind of multitasking at this point. I feel like as long as it's not I feel like whether you're copying and pasting the text into the chat or whether you're doing Google Docs, that should probably be fine. If you end up doing something else and it's a problem, we can deal with it. But I feel like text stuff is so ubiquitous at this point that it becomes, you know, but yeah. So this is the throne room scene Brendan shared a little bit a while ago. And if you want to read along, you can. I'm going to read this one for him unless he wants to come over here, which he is welcome to, but I think he's eating, coming home from work and all that. So we'll go ahead and get this one going. He can listen for feedback if he wants and all that. All right. So this is from his Thunderfold Dragon Slayer story. And we have just two characters in this one, Voss and Tiernan. Tiernan is the Baron, and Voss is one of his trusted advisors, more or less. So we're just going to go through this. Voss silently walked the halls, keeping his ears open for any sounds around him. Rounding the corner, he saw two guards stationed in front of the great hall. He paused. They were standing at attention. Unusual, Voss thought. He approached. As he did, one of the guards lowered his halberd in front of the door. His grace is not to be disturbed. The guard spoke confidently, but his face betrayed the concern he held. After a moment, sorry, sir. Voss stood straight and nodded. No need to apologize, soldier. Just you do your duty well. The guard's face seemed to relax a bit, but concern was still there. Keep the watch, you will be relieved soon. This set of words didn't have the same impact as first ones did. Voss made a note and left. Voss continued his patrol route, but his mind was elsewhere. Tiernan was inside and didn't want to be disturbed. He should have been asleep for hours. Something was wrong. Swiftly, Voss moved like a shadow darting outside and around. He quickly scaled a wall and, using a few of the weaknesses of the building's design he noted early on, got onto the roof of the great hall. Carefully, he slipped through one of the upper windows onto the rafters, making sure to seal and bar the window behind him. Then silently, and with an almost unnatural grace, slid down to the floor. Tiernan sat on his throne, his eyes resting in one of his hands. His blonde hair was messier than usual, and the amulet that was given at his knighting dangled loosely from his other hand. Voss approached, letting his footsteps make a soft noise to warn Tiernan of his presence. Your grace should be asleep. Voss's voice, though chiding, was gentle. Tiernan stirred but didn't look up. I am a baron, am I not? It was hard to tell if the question was genuine or rhetorical. Am I not allowed to do what I wish in my hall? Baron, enough that your guards obey your commands. Voss approached the throne. That explains why I didn't hear you enter. Tiernan sighed. I guess I should have clarified that you or the others could enter. Voss thought for a moment. In this instance, perhaps. But in other cases, sorting your thoughts for yourself should be done on your own. Tiernan didn't move. What am I doing here, Voss? The question was almost a plea. Voss just looked at his friend. Tiernan's face looked gaunt in the light of the central fire pit. I wanted to live great stories. I wanted to experience great adventures. Now look at me. He waved his hand at nothing in general. I'm sitting in a chair as the tiny barony dies around me, and somehow I'm supposed to lead us out of it. He curled forward, his hands gripping the amulet as if he were strangling the life out of it. I'm about as much a baron as I am a dragon. The last sentence sank deep into the floor, the crushing weight of Tiernan's doubts laid out in the most simple of phrases. Voss knew he had to be careful. No, Tiernan. At the sound of his name, Tiernan seemed to stir. You are a baron as you are a dragon slayer. You are as barren as you are a dragon slayer. He snorted. What is that? What? What, you mean a title that only exists because of a technicality? He shook his head. You were there, Voss. You were part of that event as much, if not more so, than I. I didn't kill that dragon by myself. And you don't have to do this by yourself either. Voss knelt beside the throne and put himself at eye level with the young man. You had help then, and you have help now. Tiernan looked away. But ultimately the decision is mine, no? Every soldier, every innocent, every life in the barony I am responsible for. He paused, taking a deep, shuddering breath. How can I fulfill my obligation to everyone when we are attacked on every front possible? There was a pause. Even with you and Alaric handling logistics and training of the troops, any war we fight has to be declared by me. Hush has been amazing with helping the people through the plague, but we aren't any closer to actually stopping it, and people are still dying. He stopped again, searching for his words. I can't stop this. Then there was silence, for what felt like an eternity. The crackling of the fire whispered the rumors of the world to the night air. Finally, after a minute, Voss spoke. When the dragon attacked our caravan, and we lost more than half our force, you were the one who rallied us. It was the fact that Voss sounded so much older now that caused Tiernan to look up. The hunter's eyes seemed to stare into an infinite distance, uncharacteristically absent from the present moment. The men chose to follow you, to follow your dream, because they saw something in you. When we slew Sabaxier, no one questioned who should be given the barony. You chose to save Anna and fulfill your oath to her despite your captain's orders. And Hush, Nikolai, and Alaric all chose to go with you to fight an entire troll camp just to save a girl. Who you didn't know was royalty at the time. You have the amazing ability to choose the right thing even when it is hard. Voss's eyes returned to the present and looked at Tiernan. That is why your people follow you. It is why they do not shed tears to be under your rule. Every one of those men who helped you slay the dragon joined to be your palace guards. Likewise, every one of your subjects will do as you say, because they have faith that whatever decision you make for them. Tiernan sat silent, battling with the words. Tears fought at the corners of his eyes, but whether from exhaustion or will, they did not fall. Voss continued. You are right. You have a nigh impossible task, but you led people through the impossible before. We slew the dragon through an insane, elaborate trap that had no reason to succeed, and it only worked because everyone did what they had to do. Your people trust you, Tiernan. They trust that everything you do is for them. Trust them to help you. Voss put a hand on the young ruler's shoulders, and if need be, we can push through the final steps together again. For a moment, Tiernan just looked at his friend. Then he leaned his head into the older hunter's shoulder. There was a stifled sob, and the young baron clasped his shoulder. Pushing himself away, Tiernan looked at Voss. His eyes, though still wet, were now determined again. Voss stood up. Sleep will serve you well, my lord. Voss turned to look at the now embers of the fire. When you are ready, we will be waiting. So that's that one. Thoughts on this one, second time round? Any further thoughts? Were you able to read this time, Joel? Was that helpful at all to you?
I wasn't, because I couldn't get it up fast enough. I figured I would distract myself trying to get it up, and I have cats playing behind the screen, so I have enough distractions.
But yeah.
It seemed a lot smoother. I really liked it. You definitely get into the the feeling of despair that this guy's feeling, this Baron. I love the pep talk. It really comes from the heart, and it's using examples of look at how all these people have already believed in you, and he's discounting his what's the word? His despair feelings one by one. That doesn't always work, but it's a start. You know, when you're depressed, you have all those voices in your head. And I don't know if this guy's depressed or if he's just at a loss because of the situation. I feel like that's more of what's going on. So getting some encouraging words and then, not telling him it's time to make the decision, telling him get some sleep and you're not alone and we don't need a resolution this second. I think that's good. I like that. There's a sense of get back to your feet and then we'll make the decision, Yeah.
Reading through again, I did notice, however you pronounce it, Alaric or Alaric, was spelled differently twice, with the middle vowel being an E or an A, but that was just one small thing. I think the thing that really hits very, very subtly is the fact that Voss does his little juke jive out of the way to get in to talk to his friend.
I like that. I really like that.
That's something that is very, very subtle, but the more you think about it as things move forward, the more it really shows the kind of love in action that he's going to give the pep talk about. And I think it would feel slightly more hollow if we didn't have Voss, stealing through to do it, and to give that pep talk.
The other thing is he's not disrespecting the guards or arguing with them or forcing his way in through. Like, he could argue his way through because he has a legitimate reason to get in, right? And you go ask him, he'll let me in. Even the guy, the first thing he says is, I should have left orders for you to be allowed in.
Right.
So he honors the wishes, he honors the guards, and doesn't discount them, and even gives them a keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. So I like that. And then he goes sneaky and gets it. So from a writing from a word prose, I guess, what are you calling it now? Point of view. This is something I've been looking for in my thing, because microcheekers jumped on me super hard about using adverbs, because apparently those are very bad, and it's better to just use a stronger verb. During the sneaky scene, I caught several.
Yeah. I think adverbs are problematic at times, especially depending on what you're writing and how you want to be selling that writing. But I do think that they're not always a problem. I'm one of the people that says judge it case by case, and more or less most of the time you're probably gonna want to change it. But yeah.
I use them occasionally, but like what I'll do in my rough draft, I'll use them and then I'll turn around and try and switch 9 out of 10 of them out.
Yeah.
So I noticed several in the sneaky scene. And some people are fine with them and some people want to use them. And it's something that I got jumped on, and I had to wrestle with. And now it's just something I look for.
I think they're best used when you already have a sufficiently well-crafted, flowery language akin to something like Tolkien. You can use an adverb here or there, but when you're writing something more modern that's more immediate, you really want to put the emphasis on the verb and not the adverb. It's pithier, So it really just kind of depends on what it is.
When they first started telling me about it, I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" And then as I've done more research and I've gotten examples, and it's like, oh,
right.
It's don't say he walked quickly. Say he hurried along. He his feet clicked loudly as There's another loudly. His feet clicked as he walked. Or instead of saying move slowly, he crept. Stronger verbs is the word they kept using on me. And they're for the most part they're right.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely like my story better as I rewrite it with those.
Do you have thoughts, Kerith? I know you share plenty with Brendan directly, but anything you wanted to add in on this one? Did he say something?
Oh, this was a rough draft, so he knows he has to fix some of the sentence structures. But that is a good thing for me even to keep in mind, because I really struggle with, I end up with the same sentence structure, and I'm like, why do I keep doing that?
So that's something I do a lot. I'm glad you're here, because you were talking last time about how you're a little nervous to write and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a problem with using, and Brandon called me out on it.
Braden?
Time before last, I think.
Braden last time, in my rough Brendan?
Huh?
Brendan or Braden? Because we don't have a Brandon.
Brendan.
Brendan is her husband, yes.
Yes, him.
Brendan, okay.
How my sentences are subject, verb. He does this, she does this, he does that. He walks across the room, picks up the thing, he hits the thing, he does it. I do that so much in my rough drafts. My rough drafts are like every single sentence is that way. And I have to go back and line by line. Okay, let's change this one. So we'll put the verb first. Just like he said, picking up the candlestick, he whacks it in the head. And I just, vary and alter, and sometimes I'll put a description first or what, I got to vary it. But in my rough draft, all I'm trying to do is get the thoughts out of my head onto the paper. And it's okay to be super repetitive and super, non-descriptive and use, basically shorthand if you want. But it's really encouraging to go back and look and say, oh, I've got all this done. And then you feel discouraged because you're like, oh, I got to rewrite all of it. But it's easier to do the rewrite because it's already down. And one of the things that I found is really helpful is if you're doing line by line, go backwards. Because if you start going in order, you start thinking about the plot as a whole. But if you're going backwards, you only think about that line. Mm-hmm. And it's one way to focus on the grammar instead of the plot. So I would encourage you, just get it on paper. Start with.
Yeah.
And you will find I get a little endorphin rush when I go back and read it.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that sometimes.
I've been using some of the better creative writing ones to I'll write a detailed outline, just shorthand of a scene, and I will have it draft a prose version of that just so I can read it and make sure that everybody's doing the thing they're supposed to do. Right? I really don't care what it looks like. And then I will write the poetry from that. And that helps with pacing. That helps with some of the timing things.
You got to do it twice or three times to make it rhyme. You got to do it two or three times to make it rhyme.
Yeah, and it depends. Sometimes I've done it where I've actually sat down and written out in prose, but I don't like writing in prose as much as I like writing in rhyme. The emotional scenes tend to flow better in rhyme anyway, and so those ones flow easily. But the ones that have a lot of action really need to be plotted out and pieces put in place. It's like playing with action figures. And so when I do those, the Claude has really helped with that when I need it. I used to struggle 3 or 4 times as long getting those pieces in place and making sure that all works, because I have it in my head, but actually choreographing something in sentences is really helpful, especially for complicated wrestling matches or superhero fights or whatever it is I'm doing. And so just writing it in any format, I know people who will write something in script format because that's what they're comfortable with, and then they'll go back and write it in prose, you know. It's just anything that you got to do to make something happen. I know Ian struggles with the he struggles the same way I struggle with the disconnect between dialogue and action. They're very bifurcated in our brain, and so when there's this big quippy conversation, that's a separate track in our mind from whatever's actually happening action wise. And so we'll just sit there and dialogue tag everything and write out the whole dialogue, and then figure out how to work it back in. He does it certain ways, I do it certain ways. And so the point is, get it so that it makes sense and is paced roughly right, and then start molding it. That's really helped me. So but yeah. So we can go ahead and wrap, or we can go into other talks on anything. One of the things that I was thinking of is go ahead, Joel. I want to hear Joel.
I had one question I meant to ask about my story, and I just it just popped back in my. Did you pick up the soap spray? How she wasn't supposed to read it, and she read it.
Yes.
Yeah, that got my attention.
It's been so long, you might not remember, but that is. Do you remember what that's from?
That's the Good Nanites translating it, right?
Right, but she's not supposed to have that in her brain.
Right, because
that's the thing.
What's her face put it in? Yeah, Starlet put it. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Remember when she was asleep and Starlet gave her the dreams and stuff like that? Yep, got it. I'm totally following. Very cool. Like I said, we can wrap. We've done 2 hours of recording time, but I was on for a little bit before we got really started. Or I could just go 1 or 2 more if you all wanted, since mine are short. I'm literally just throwing it out there because I think people are enjoying it and it's moving along well, and they're short.
Yeah, we can get 1 more of yours.
You'll do 1 more? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do 1 more.
You get skipped half the time anyway.
Yeah, I do. Which is totally fine. I don't mind. I'm the host. That's my job. If someone's gonna take a hit, it should be me. But the next one's called Diner Talk with Gary. Gary Horner, if you remember, is the owner of the wrestling school that Joshua Slater went to, where Jessica's volunteering. So this is her finally getting a chance to talk to him after a long day, you know, of business and whatever. She was teaching classes, etc. All right. Jessica took a seat in what must have been the oldest Waffle House ever. It was late at night, but she had a good day. Gary's students were clever. She decided she enjoyed teaching wrestling and would have to do it again. Gary Horner sat down with her. "Thanks for helping us train." "Not a problem," she said with a smile. "The pleasure was all mine. But now we can finally have a seat and talk. Time to let it unwind." Gary smiled and ordered his food, and Jessica did the same. And then Gary took a sip of his coffee and said, "What's this visit's aim?" "I want to know more about Joshua Slater. He's really impressed me so far. I think with the proper guidance, he could really be a star." Gary smiled even broader as she mentioned Josh to him, and she thought there was something father-like in that graying man's grin. "Joshua Slater. Can I tell you about his last match here in town?" "Sure, I'd love to hear about it." "It was at Ball Ground Beatdown." So that was that one. Very, very short, but we're getting to another match. Do you want to hear the match, or do we want to pause there before the match? He's thinking, you're thinking. We can wrap there if y'all want.
It is 10 o'clock here.
It is. That sounds good to me. Any other thoughts before we roll, people?
I liked it. It was super short. The ballroom beatdown, is that what you said?
Ball ground beatdown. Ball ground is a town in North Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
There was one of your stances at the beginning that didn't seem to rhyme quite right.
Okay. Let me see here.
Start over, and I'll tell you when to stop.
Yep. Let's see here. Jessica took a seat in what must have been the oldest Waffle House ever. It was late at night, but she had a good day. Gary's students were clever. She decided she enjoyed teaching wrestling and would have to do it again. Gary Horner sat down with her. Thanks for helping us train. Not a problem, she said with a smile. The pleasure was all mine. But now we can finally take a seat and talk. Time to let it unwind. Gary smiled.
Yeah, back to there.
Okay.
There was a stance that didn't have a rhyme with it, I think.
Which one?
When they go to the oldest Waffle House ever.
Uh-huh.
And then
Gary students
right before
were
she
clever.
starts talking.
Yeah, we've got oldest Waffle House ever. Gary's students were clever. Then we've got
what's after that?
And would have to do it again. And then Gary Horner, thanks for letting us train. Again, and train is a slant rhyme. AIN.
Okay.
Depending on how you read it.
You said
it's a slant rhyme.
Okay.
So yeah. No, I understand. Slant rhymes do throw people off, but I tend to, not in this case, but I tend to use them for making things feel slightly off. So that's what I tend to use them for. Not in this case though. You did notice that though. So.
Yeah. The oldest Waffle House ever. They all feel like that.
I know, right? It's true, they do.
Have you seen that picture that's going around on Facebook of like, it's like this dining room, and the more you look at it, the more things you see wrong, and it's like there's a plate of spaghetti, but if you look, it's blood and eyeballs, and there's this guy on there who's saying, "But it's just Waffle House. Have you not been to a Waffle House?" Like the waitress has a tentacle. It's Waffle House.
One of the well, I'll go ahead and wrap real quick, that I'll tell you, but everybody, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time on the Broodcast on Poets at War.
For more episodes of Poets at War, please visit joshuadavidling.com or check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcast transmissions. This is Sergeant Ollie, signing out.
God of songs said